welcome back to Doctor Who Series 2, Episode 2, Lux, where today, once again, I am joined by my brother Caden.
Hello.
And we have actually got to talk about the robot revolution real quick, of course, naturally. Because, last time, it ended with all the stuff floating in space, whatever, right? And it was like, ooh, May the 24th, which actually is the day before... I think the week before the finale. I don't remember. Anyway, someone on Reddit the other day pointed out, quite naturally, you'll remember that the Statue of Liberty was among those monuments.
That's true.
And as we all know, the Statue of Liberty is a weeping angel. It just makes sense, quite naturally. But anyway, they were like, what the, the weeping angel. I can't tell if they were joking or not, but like, is the Statue of Liberty not a weeping angel? Is this like a retcon? What's going on? And so, of course, I put the first thing that came to my head, that's the Vegas Statue of Liberty. Quite natural. That was a joke, right? But immediately after typing it, I went, hang on a second. The Eiffel Tower and the Great Pyramids were also there. Those are both in Vegas, aren't they? little replicas. I'm like, there was a London cab, but there's got to be a novelty cab somewhere in Vegas. And so I'm like, no, I think there's a subset of the Doctor Who fandom who I've convinced the threat we've decided is now that it's just Vegas that's threatened. That someone told me that apparently the original London Bridge is in Nevada somewhere. So, checks London cab, it'll work out. But yeah, and I'm further cemented this idea by the video of the nuclear bombs that played at the beginning of this one, because of course we dropped a lot of the nukes on Nevada, Utah as well, but clearly the gods are going to be inspired to nuke Nevada, and it's just a very small scale threat.
I could live with that.
You could live. It's like, you know what? I've just seen, I was going to start talking about the episode, but that poster in the background is one of the slug things from Find Time. I don't think you can buy that poster.
Doubt it, yeah.
Maybe you can. I don't know how much of this merch. I recognize classic Doctor Who DVDs and the Blu-ray remasters of, for some reason, John Pertwee and... Sylvester McCoy. I'm not sure what season that is in the middle. In fact, wait, has that one been released? Do you want to entertain the crowd for a second?
Well, yeah, it's really weird having this mirror popped up on screen. One thing that bothers me about these people, it doesn't bother me. One thing that as they exist to be the diehard Doctor Whoers, yet all of them unanimously agree that Blink is their favorite episode. Smells a little suspicious to me. It smells like, of course they were fake. Of course they were an illusion. They don't really know what's up.
I'm back. Okay, I can confirm that one, number 3, that's Peter Davison Season 2. That's Season 20. That's the 20th anniversary. That's a good one. That's a good one to have. What were we talking about? I don't know. I've been gone. So I was really hoping we were about to leak the next Blu-ray collection, but go on.
Well, we'll probably get into it later,
yeah.
But diving into how they're obviously not real people and what leads me to believe that and how I can know for certain.
Yeah, we'll get into our overview, but these were obviously fictitious people from the moment. Look, these are 3 Doctor Who fans, quite clearly. They get together, presumably every Sunday, Saturday, whatever, to watch Doctor Who. They dress in their Doctor Who merch every time, and all 3 of them say Blink is their favorite episode. These are clearly...
You are gone.
Look, a lot of dedicated Doctor Who fans do love Blink, don't get me wrong. It is the number 1 rated episode on IMDb, but everyone knows Blink is the casual's choice. Heaven Sent is the fan's choice, or it'd be something 12th Doctor, but
yeah, that is exactly yeah.
So we got sidetracked by Peter Davison real hard there.
Of course.
What did you think? I always like to start with you here.
I don't even know.
Ooh, like a good way or a bad way?
I think in a good way.
Okay.
I kind of. It felt so almost ridiculous and
Mm-hmm.
different that I was like almost caught off guard. And then once I suspended my disbelief,
Mm-hmm.
I think it became great.
I loved it.
Mm.
I cannot believe that the same man wrote this and the last episode.
Yeah, yeah,
Night
1,000.
and day.
Mhm.
Good lord. Um, I loved it. Um, I I think they were too conservative when these fans gave it a 7 out of 10. The fandom is adoring it. This is easily what in the top 3 15th Doctor episodes. Maybe 4 if you were to lump the 60th in,
Yeah, I'd say
which this is up there. This one was really good. I have critiques. I'm not sure I have complaints.
mm.
I my biggest complaint is honestly this scene. We'll get to it. Well, not this one, but the one back here. But it was better on the second time, I will say. I really need to pick a different frame though, because I keep studying. Like I've noticed they seem to have 2 copies of the Ninth Doctor on Blu-ray because David Tennant comes in this big, stupid, cheap collection you would never buy. 2 little Blu-rays. But I need a new frame.
Mm.
Mr. Ring-a-ding. No, this one was great. There was a comment on Reddit because I like going through. Paul, I'm gonna get to that comment real quick. I like going through the reviews and talking with my wife after we watch them. Someone said that this felt simultaneously like just a standard Doctor Who romp, and yet entirely new and fresh at the same time. And I think that's
Yeah,
what you were saying. You were caught off. Now, I
yeah,
knew Mr. Ring-a-Ding was going to be in it. He
mm.
was announced, I think, with the air date, and he's the guy I got spoiled because they put pictures and stuff. I think I knew there was going to be a cartoon villain, like, basically since the first trailer.
Mm.
So I actually thought this was going to be the episode we were going to watch when I sat down to watch it. So I was less taken aback. I can actually only try to imagine what you thought, because my wife also knew about Mr. Ring-a-Ding because
Yeah,
I knew it was the sort of thing they would love, so I told them.
yeah,
But I agree with that. It feels exactly like what we were talking about for a lot of our streams, where we want something like totally out there,
yeah,
and we got this. It was
yeah.
made with passion, with skill. The effects were all amazing. I have like one VFX critique in that when the guy's dancing with his black and white wife, it doesn't look the best. It's a
Mm.
little, but even then, I'm not sure if that's like intentional because she's kind of green screened in the real world,
Yeah,
or if it's a dodgy effect. But like that is very nitpick. This was great. I'd like to bring up what Paul said real quick.
mm.
1.5 million viewers in the UK, and it's very close to being canceled. First episode had, I think, 2 million. That might be an underestimate, but whatever. It was also, I think, the second highest watched program of the day. Ratings, especially the BBC premiere ratings, mean hot garbage. They're meaningless without the context that that all shows are going down. I think every episode of Doctor Who has been in those top numbers, even the Christmas one, which is competing with like Wallace and Gromit, and so many huge things that also came back. Last Christmas with Joy to the World. No, I guess it's the number. It's in the top 5 episodes on Disney Plus. Every week it aired, and I believe it is the number 1 in demand streaming show for the under 35s across every single demographic. Doctor Who is doing exceptionally well. It's possible Disney will back out, would be an absolutely baffling decision from every metric we've been giving. Doctor Who costs Disney basically nothing. They consider it cheap, and it's one of their best shows. But the BBC will keep making it. There'll be a year gap. You just can't fill 2026. But that would be the worst that we'd get. And I want to address it because there's a lot of... I don't know exactly what is rumor, leak, speculation, yada, yada, yada. It's very blurred, but pop over to the Doctor Who Reddit and you'll see, like, basically every comment on r/Gallifrey has to clarify, like, if the show does get canceled, even if it's totally irrelevant. But Doctor Who's... And part of the reason I don't want to talk about it is I don't know what's leak, what's rumor, like where people are sourcing information from. But, no, the viewing numbers of especially the day one UK broadcast just can't be used to say like Doctor Who's being canceled, because according to those views, which yes are like 1.58, would not surprise me if that's the lowest number in the entire show's 60-year history. It's some of these episodes are below Patrick Troughton, who was the lowest viewed. They're still like the number one, not number one, sometimes they are, but those highest shows. And Patrick Troughton was performing very poorly. Like, that actually was probably at risk of cancellation if the third Doctor didn't do good. But anyway, enough about cancellation. God, Disney Plus, give me a frame. I've rambled a lot. Let's say any big thing you want to talk about.
Yeah, I think part of just...
Yeah.
I don't know how to... I don't even know where I would rank the episode, because comparatively... It's not like it fits neatly. It is really unique. I don't feel like I have a frame of reference, which is a cool thing, and I do enjoy it.
I think you need to rewatch this one just for your own sake.
Yeah.
But I think we'll have an interesting stream today.
I don't think I have any complaints. I'm kind of starting to remember. Except, no, I do have one complaint. I was freaking out in the episode. This is skipping a little bit, but it's right at the beginning of our scene where they get changed to match the 1950s clothing,
and they walk out the door. I
thought they were going to show like a costume room from within the TARDIS. I actually bouncing up and excited. I've always wanted to see more rooms of the TARDIS, and they just cut right away, and it was devastating.
This is Russell T Davies. Remember the Coral TARDIS from 9 and 10 doesn't even have a door to other rooms.
Yeah.
I think they did the same thing in Devil's Cord. Like, with the exact same, they leave and then they walk out instantly. Which I'm starting to wonder, is that's actually like a feature? I would actually be surprised if Russell T Davies doesn't come on some interview and be like, time is all wibbly in the TARDIS. There's like 5 doctors at once in there. And everyone's like, Russell, please. What's his latest fun one? By making it so that Ncuti Gatwa doesn't have an outfit, he's democratized cosplaying, and that you could wear literally anything and be cosplaying the Doctor. It's like, Russell, that's not how it works. Russell, please, no. Yeah, I want to ask you, though, because I saw the frame. So what was this moment for you, not knowing what this episode was going to be at all? God, I wish I had that. Go on. Yeah. Interesting.
It sort of felt like in the beginning of the episode a little ridiculous. And so I was like, oh, it's going to be a little bit of a goofy episode. But it took itself so seriously that throughout the episode I was able to take it seriously and be like, yeah, this cartoon guy is terrifying. This is the end of the world.
I think there's bits where it didn't... I wouldn't say it took itself unseriously, but I wouldn't say it took itself seriously. It was having fun in a way where it didn't care about the consequences.
I think it was
yes.
It was taking seriously having fun. Like, you can have whimsical moments, but it's breaking the illusion. It's not.
It was very serious.
Yeah.
I'd like a little example. We can get into all these little things later. But when they become like the Scooby-Doo style cartoon, the acting changes to become more flat, a little faker, and line delivery is very much like Scooby-Doo. And the dialogue becomes a little more unnatural in a very, Scooby-Doo way,
Yeah.
and in a clearly intentional way. So, like, it was being serious about it, but also it was satire might be the best
Yeah.
word, but it doesn't fit. There was so much love. If I was especially an old school animation fan, I think I would have found so much more. But so many wonderful things they did with their format. If last episode's problem was that it didn't commit, this episode just committed. It was like, yeah, we're doing this.
That's what it was.
I wish I had your experience, because Mr. Ring-a-Ding was kind of exactly what I was hoping for. The sort of murderous cartoon you get, probably more than you might think nowadays. I was actually thinking he's kind of a lot like Lower Decks' Badgie. I don't know if the timelines line up for how there'd be inspiration, but Badgie also was kind of defeated by ascending into, like, godhood. And I'm like, actually, there's a... But no, it worked very well. I was wondering if they might not commit as much because they are going for a more family audience than Lower Decks is an adult comedy, you know? Like, Badgie swears all the time, but Mr. Ring-a-Ding, standout of the episode. Voiced by Alan Cumming, who I think I mentioned was in a 13th Doctor episode recently, his King James. Who, maybe my memory's just wrong, but he sounded nothing like this in that one. So I know he's a big name. My people go like, you've never seen Alan Cummings in something? I might not remember him, but shout outs to him in, like, the range this guy seems to have.
Yeah.
Apparently he actually had to check with Doctor Who to make sure they knew he was recently in an episode. Brilliant. I would like to touch, well, actually, while it's on my mind so I don't forget it, the character Miss Sunshine, Mr. Ring-a-Ding meets, who is after Lux kind of possesses him. Miss Sunshine, he says something like, "Oh, don't give me sunshine," and then goes off into his Moonlight speech.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
Right, you realize that, yeah.
He's defeated. Yeah, you should give him a second watch. Yeah, but that wasn't why I wanted to go in through. Neither is why I'm about to say, because I want to talk about a different reveal. I think I kind of got what you must have felt when he came out of the TV in the scene where you learn it's Lux. Because I knew about Mr. Ring-a-Ding. I did not know he would be Lux. I just knew he'd be a cartoon. I assumed he would actually not really be the primary villain, or there'd be some force that had to bring him to life, right?
Yeah.
And I guess in a sense that's true. But the bit where he had the, like, ha 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 laugh, which, God, that was out of tone, was like, whoa, wait, this is a god. And I kind of got to have, honestly, for the first time, I knew about the Toy Maker, I knew about Maestro, and Sutek seemed like the very obvious take. Although even when they named Sutek in this episode, I was like, oh yeah, he is a god, because he was just like an alien in the classics. And also, I don't really like thinking about that episode. But that was fun with both me and my wife. And my wife did recognize it too. But I want to bring up that point, which is interesting, especially from your perspective. This era, specifically 15th Doctor, is like the jumping on point. It's the new Rose. It's a new era, which people kind of complained was more of a marketing thing. It's on Disney Plus, so you can't call it season 14. But Russell was even like, no, yeah, it's a new era. This is the jumping on, which is good. Doctor Who needed that. But, like, they love referencing those 60th specials, don't they?
Yeah.
Which were very much like season 8 of Game of Thrones, you know? You want those first 7 seasons to... You know, it very much relied on that knowledge and tied up a lot of things. But we directly referenced By Generation, I think possibly for the second time. Of course, the Toy Maker's here. We saw Rose Noble last season, just generally a lot of stuff. And it just keeps baffling me. And I talked to my wife about it, who said, they're, like, close enough to me. I've explained enough that, like, they don't feel left out.
Yeah.
But they probably would be if it weren't for that. And I definitely would have been left out. I'm a stickler for the right order, and I would go back. Like, I would not be watching this, especially with that keep referencing and bringing it up. And it's such a contrast to his old era where season 1 doesn't mention, like, anything besides the Daleks, who were, like, dead except the one. Okay, actually, they're in the finale. And then, like, Gallifrey, which is dead. But they ease you into that.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how you kind of feel watching through this. I think as more of, a filthy, disgusting casual. Maybe it's not as big for you, but I'm curious on your thoughts, just like Mr. Ring-a-Ding here.
Well, given, like, with all the Doctor Who we do every week and, like, my semblance of sort of knowledge, some of the things do make sense to me. Like, even the laugh. I'm not familiar with the laugh, but we've talked about it, so I was like, oh, I know that's important.
So Alex brought up, the laugh actually was in Devil's Cord. I don't know if they drew attention to it, but Maestro had that laugh, which I think is how he realized she was a god, or they were a god. Yeah. I can't remember. I feel the episode does it wrong, because the Harbinger, is side tangent, calls Maestro his daddy at the beginning. And so I'm like, okay, Maestro's like he, him. And then people online keep telling me I'm wrong. And that the rest of the episode is kind of like vague or contradicting that original statement. So I don't actually know what Maestro's pronouns are.
Yeah.
But,
I did. Yeah. I think the referencing, because of the fact that it doesn't lean on needing to have the context, it simply is there. I think it can add to a little bit of like, well, what the heck are they talking about? But it gives you the option of either going and rewatching or kind of letting go of that, which isn't my preference. I would have liked if they did something more akin to the first season where it was slowly revealed and assumed that you don't know, and it kind of but not
to mention the destruction of Gallifrey, which like you probably kind of have to address in some way.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. I keep waiting for the episode where they like say something big. It's like he just gives his life story,
Yeah.
But I found that weird. Just like this animation error right here, where Mr. Ring-a-Ding seems to be missing his shirt. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't an error. Maybe it's just how it was drawn that way. But we've been staring at that for so long, I noticed it.
Yeah, I don't think it ruins it, but it's not my.
One thing now, I think before probably we do the scene by scenes, I'd like to touch on is how this episode dealt with the fact that we have two black protagonists in 1950s Florida. I don't know if I have too much to say about it. It's probably how much you want to go on about it. But I know me and my wife both really liked how they handled it. The episode's not about racism. It's about its whole other thing. They mentioned it, and I think they did it generally very well. They kept bringing it up more than I thought they would, which was interesting. Not that that was a problem. But I think I've said plenty of times before with 15, we shouldn't have the color of the people who happen to be playing the main character's skins restrict what we can do with the show. We could theoretically solve racism today, and then it will still exist forever if a black doctor can't go to the past, And so I like that. And I think my biggest thing is just like, let's not forget that the past was horrible. And so I'd probably point to this as like a model. You don't necessarily have to do everyone like this, but they just did so many easy things. Like, it's nighttime.
Yeah.
Done. Problem solved. Done. Real honestly.
I thought it was done really well, and especially with like the conversations we've had about this before, kind of about what it would look like if they went into it. And I think this was a great. I think there's always room for like an episode dedicated in really the nitty gritty.
Oh, absolutely.
And I also think there have been times where it hasn't been mentioned at all, and I think this is a really good middle ground. Like, this is what it is.
I'm fine with Rogue's approach too, especially when we have episodes like this. My main problem with Rogue is that like racism doesn't exist and we don't address that, but homophobia does.
Yeah.
And so that was narratively important and created some confusion. But yeah, absolutely fine. Dot and Bubble was great. I used it well. I still agree with you. I think if 15 doesn't have an episode that really tackles the issue, it would feel like a waste. Because, yes, we shouldn't let the Doctor limit it, but we should also take advantage of the opportunities every individual actor brings to the table. And especially the first black actor can really tackle that. You know, Jodie had a literally a witch hunt episode. You know, and it was one of the better ones. It had Alan Cumming, but yeah, I would be disappointed if we don't get that one, especially because historically they can be good episodes. You know, the ones that tackle some issue were, other than like Blink, off the top of my head, all the top ones do this. I guess Midnight actually does. Yeah, I will say though, the one thing that got me in the scene here, where also I didn't quite believe it. I thought they were probably still in the film because the woman seemed too much of not a racist to go get the cops. I think I kind of like it how it was. First off, how the Doctor acts, because it very much seems like he's upset about being racist. He's gonna be so good in an episode that like he has to actually deal with it. I think I'd kind of like an episode that would be very easy for literally any other Doctor to solve, but it's hard for him.
Yeah.
I might also like it if he doesn't win, but I don't know. I'm not here to write an episode about race. I'm certainly not the person to do that. But I kind of felt like, especially for an episode not dealing with it, it was a little too nice. We kind of stopped addressing the problems of the past and is like, these are the nicest people committing a racial crime I've ever seen. Did you get that?
Well, I mean,
now, go on.
You could say that the villain is just, because since this is the villain still, he's just bad at being racist, so he's trying his best.
At least the gods aren't racist, you know?
Yeah. They probably hate everyone. They're all so minuscule. I don't think they could care about race.
I'm not saying I want them to, like, throw out an N-word, but I mentioned I'm reading the Virgin New Adventures now, which are aimed more adult. And I'm currently reading Time Worm Exodus, which, if you don't remember, that's the one where the Doctor befriends Hitler. It's one that is set mostly in either Nazi Germany or a post-war Britain where the Nazis won World War II. It's a fantastic book, by the way. I'm most of the way through it. It's not a light read. Let's put it that way. It's amazing. It's a hard, fascinating, great. I wouldn't say necessarily hard, but there's an element of difficulty. Amazing comparisons with like this imagination of the world where they won, this exploration of how the living in a fascist state would actually be. These parallels, because it's from like the 90s, between stuff happening in the real world and now. There's a very hard chapter for me, which is Hitler's first attempted coup, which, if you don't know, he did. He had an attempted coup that was like laughably bad. You can Google it. And they're like, he's a joke. You know, it really was. But then, like, fast forward however many years, and he's now the Fuhrer. And yeah, I'm January 6th. But that book definitely is, like, there have been some slurs. It feels very real, that take on the totalitarian world. Going from the chapter where the Hitler gives the Doctor a big hug because they're best buds. Yes, the Doctor is fake. That's made very clear. You hear his thoughts. He very much hates the man. To this scene, I think might have just been a chasm where that issue was exacerbated, you know?
Yeah.
So that was probably an effect of it. But even then, I don't know. I think we probably did need something, because everyone else, like the diner and the lady, which are just two people, were totally fine with this. I mean, the projectionist. And so it probably is good to have a bit like, no, you know, it isn't. This sort of thing can happen. And I I guess pulling a gun on someone is probably a much more powerful image in the UK.
I did, it did get an audible laugh out of me because I was like, oh, geez.
No, but Belinda was great. I'm really liking how Belinda's stood up to it and is very much...
Yeah.
I'm not sure the word I want. I thought it was a little weird when she was, like, shocked and appalled that 1950s Southern America is racist.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's known. Maybe it's not. If you're English and it's like, we don't talk about that, then fine. But I understand what the scene is doing. And oh gosh, can we appreciate the doctor's line about, like, I have toppled worlds. Sometimes I let people topple their own. And in the meantime, I live in them and shine.
Yeah.
Mwah! Did Russell really write this episode? Did he actually write it in, like, 2006, but he lost the script? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is amazing. And so much not what the last episode was.
Yeah.
And Belinda, by the way, totally fixed as a character. Every complaint I had last time, out the window. She's working great here. Shooty's great. I think, then, unless there's anything you want to add, I'm probably good for a scene-by-scene now.
Yeah.
All right. Loved the cold open. Absolutely. I thought the nuclear bomb thing was a bit weird till it came up with Mr. Ringading later. I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
The atmosphere was a little dark with that in the beginning.
Shout-outs as well to whoever did the research for how an old cinema works, like the two cameras that switched apart. The fact that it burns, like, if you get stuck. I'm not, like, a film nerd, but I know enough to know someone very much cared. Again, one of the reasons it doesn't feel like it's written by Russell T Davies is I don't know of him as, like, an old school film and animation fan. And this feels like they brought a writer in who's, like, does this, you know?
Yeah, very fun as someone who... I haven't been into, like, old film as in, like, projectionist, but it just as the old process of creating film and photography. It felt like it was a beauty to watch. It was gorgeous.
I've watched some Technology Connections. Caden, you might actually really like that channel. Who's gone over some stuff like this, like the old projectionist, yes, the film work. There was so much love poured into every moment of the premise. Using the timers and having to, like, go around and switch out the films, like, all brilliant. And I looked out for it more on my second watch through, and like, I noticed all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, Russell, I would like to file a formal complaint after that praise. You're telling me you have, like, an archive of old film reels. You have a scene in which they're burned, and you did not make a Doctor Who missing episode joke. Like, not one of these tables was labeled, like, Marco Polo or something. Maybe you're trying to maintain the Doctor's world is real, you know? You don't have to write Doctor Who Marco Polo. You could just have a tape that you see is like Marco Polo and it gets burned. I was calling for that, and I hate fourth wall breaks. That scene where they were dunking him down, I told my wife, like, Marco Polo, Dalek's master plan. Oh, that's just the entirety of season 3 right there, you know? Yeah. Like, come on, Russell. You literally have the Doctor learn he's a fictional character in this episode. Yeah, no. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a cut scene that gets released later. By the way, this is totally Betty Boop, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna... Not Betty Boot, but that did work. Okay, no, it's not the same hairstyle, or in fact, head shape, or in fact, body, or energy. Legs. But no, it very much... That was clearly a Betty Boop. But no, I love this cold open. I think I told Alex when the opening credits started rolling that if the rest of the episode lived up to that, it's like gonna be a 10. You know, this is gonna become an all-time great. And I don't know how this episode will be remembered. I don't know if it'll be like, I don't think it'll be like Blink or Heaven Sent, but it's gonna
Yeah.
be up there. It's gonna be one that gets thrown around as like a good, really good episode.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be a standout of the season. I hope it's not, because that means this season is phenomenal. But I hope it's a standout of the season. I don't know if I have much about the TARDIS to say here. The TARDIS scenes. Go on.
I did enjoy the continued, like, the Doctor's kind of just still not doing what Belinda. Like, it's clear by the end of the episode, she's kind of on board with the idea of, like, this adventure, but especially in the beginning, or, like, when the Doctor tries to leave 1952, or because what did he call it?
Sorry,
fishing
the what?
line?
The cinema? What?
The
Vindicator?
Line? The Vindicator. Yeah, when that got, it was like, we can leave now. And the Doctor's like, what? And she's like, we can leave now. And he's like, oh, well, it's 1952. We might as well get a cup of coffee.
I loved her. Like, oh my God, you actually want to investigate. I loved Belinda.
Yeah. I liked the moment of, like, I don't know, the Doctor was kind of taking control of Belinda's choices for a moment there. And of course she came around and had a fun adventure, and I'm glad because it created a very good episode. But just that dynamic of unwilling companion had a little bit of shining in the early beginning of this episode.
I get what you're saying. I disagree. I think it was handled very well, where Belinda still very much like has the singular goal of getting home. With shout-outs, while it's on my mind, I knew there was something I wanted to mention. When she talks about how she really wants to see her family again, they play Amy's theme, Amy Pond. I won't go into more detail. I don't think you ever finished Amy's storyline, but I did like that detail. I think they reuse a few musical beats. There's one they reused. I couldn't quite put my finger on. I didn't hear it the second time, but they did her very well. I think Belinda is a good companion who was unwilling. Like, ignoring any production things that might make this difficult. As a person, I feel like she might stay on. Like, kind of like, didn't Martha... No, Martha didn't want to go home. It was the opposite. I think Tegan, originally, she was an unwilling companion who basically spent her whole run complaining about wanting to get home. And then she gets home, and the Doctor just, like, leaves without her. She's like, all right, she wanted to get home. She's home. And then she's like, oh, I kind of wanted to stay, It's like, I was liking that now. I kind of get that vibes, because, like you said, the Doctor was literally like, well, since you want to stay here, I'll go out. Which, at first I was like, well, hang on, you're just trying to get home. But no, he does have to leave and, like, put the thing on the floor,
Yeah.
And Belinda was very much, it wasn't like, no, I want to stay with you. It was like, oh, hell no. We're in 53? Like, I'm going to go out. I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to have fun now that I'm here. And I disagree. You were like, you kind of framed it where he went out is like, well, let's just have coffee. You want to get home. I think Belinda is very much like, even a reaction of like, oh, you really want to investigate that cinema. To me, it didn't come off as like necessarily super judgmental, but she kind of does too.
Yeah.
But she also knows like, I may never get home. That's on her mind, but she does want to do it. And like investigating this will not affect whether or not she can get home. It just affects when.
Yeah, I didn't get...
Not in like a what date she arrives home, but when she personally can see home,
I mean, I feel like judgmental or like resentful unwillingness, almost sort of playful. You really want to go in there. And it is, well, I'm kind of interested too. I don't think they fully did, swing. It's just the fact not like, oh, I want to go explore the universe, to me is like, it's bad.
No. once they saw Mr. Ringading, like the doctor was gonna stay, probably
Yeah.
rightfully so. But
Oh.
I have the impression that if right here Belinda put her foot down and say no, you're getting me home, like this is some memorial, the local police can sort it.
Yeah.
I feel like he would have left.
Yeah, I agree.
And that makes it work for me. That makes it okay. And also, Belinda, actually, after they talk to that woman, is probably the line. And the doctor would be like, you really want me to move this woman's hope, like, from the cinema without even taking a peek. Because I don't think Belinda's that kind of person either.
Yeah.
And I want to say, we have had an I'll say unwilling. It's kind of like the doctor. It's Victoria Waterfield, an unwilling companion of the second Doctor. In the episode where we meet her, her father dies, and so she's left with like nowhere to go, but sticking with the Doctor or like becoming an orphan in Victorian times. Yes, her name's Victoria, and she's from Victorian times. I've always assumed this was laziness, but so she very much is not a good companion in the sense of she doesn't fit the archetype. She's better than remembered. I really struck me on my watch through with my wife the first time. But she's, especially later on, she's kind of that picturesque damsel in distress, stereotypical Doctor Who companion who really just doesn't want to be there and is constantly like, can we leave? This is scary. Like, I didn't want to come in the first place. And I think she's the only one who leaves because, like, it's not fun and this isn't for her. In a sense, she kind of doesn't work. There's an interesting dynamic to someone in, like, an adventure show who doesn't want to go on adventures.
Yeah.
Like Tegan, I mentioned before, Turlough's kind of the same, where he wants to go on adventures. He is just like a scaredy cat, so he doesn't like when things get scary. He just wants to go to the fun planets. But I think you do need... You can't have Belinda just literally want to leave and go home, because it doesn't really work too well. Especially when she's the only companion. With Victoria, you had the brilliant Jamie. He's great. You know, he's just in like some sort of gay relationship with the Doctor. It's fantastic. But when it's just Victoria and the Doctor, that would not have worked.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have worked. So I see where they're coming from, I think.
Yeah, I think it's I don't want the adventures to stop, but the pushback is
You might like the Fifth Doctor with Tegan, but actually, you'll meet Tegan way at the end of our watch-alongs that we're doing. But she kind of feels like the modern Tegan, which I know won't mean much to you. A slightly more polite Tegan, but yeah, no, Tegan is famous for just... She's kind of, I think, a self-proclaimed mouth on legs is her role. Just like, she just complains at anything the Doctor does. In any special behind the scenes, if you own the Blu-rays, with the Fifth Doctor, Nyssa, and Tegan, mwah. Brilliant. Actually, you know that season 20 Blu-ray they had on the shelf, those fans? Yeah. I think that's the one where one of the features is literally just a road trip from England to, like, Germany for a convention that they just filmed with those three in the car. Amazing.
That is funny.
That's the reason they own the season. That's a headcanon. It's not the 5 Doctors, it's that. Set design, I'd like to take a moment to shout out. Very nice cinema, very nice design. I mean, I think the practical sets have all been very good this era.
Yeah.
We know how to make good-looking Doctor Who sets somewhere nice. We'll say that. Don't know if I have much about the diner until they sit down with the lady. It's mostly just the racism stuff we already talked about. I will say now, I keep forgetting it, I do feel that a lot of the American characters, their acting was a little subpar, probably because they had to put on old-timey fake American accents. I mean, you're in Florida. I don't think Floridians sound like this, right?
That is true.
It's like what is it? It's Mid-Atlantic, is it called? That sort of fake...
I'm not sure.
It's the fake old-timey accent you hear in movies that's kind of a mix between British English and American English that doesn't exist anywhere.
Yeah.
But it was generally very good, but I felt sometimes they couldn't put emotion behind it, or it sounded more like it'd be from a Monty Python skit. It's just a comedy where nothing makes sense.
Yeah. The biggest offender
go
was
on.
the biggest offender was the guy behind the counter for me. But
Yeah.
because he was such a small role, I was able to just kind of laugh at it.
I mean, it was a funny line, but the one I want to highlight at the end was like, now am I crazy, or was that Mr. Ring-a-Ding? You know? Just the way it's like, if I saw Mickey Mouse explode out of a cinema and become God, I'd probably, I don't know. That's a fair reaction. Am I crazy, or was that Mickey Mouse?
Yeah.
But the way he said it kind of feels like he's doing a skit, you know?
Yeah.
And it made him feel a little fake. But I don't know what goes into modern Doctor Who, but doing an accent is hard. It requires like months at least of training and professionals. Classic Who is famously bad. I love a good old American classic Doctor Who, but like the BBC couldn't do that. It couldn't do an accent. It's still, I don't know if these are like extras. Their job is to play Americans or whatever, but generally it was very good. I should show you like the American companion, Perry, and you won't complain about these accents anymore. Actually, Perry is fine. Some of the others. Imagine like talking out of the side of your mouth. See, like I'm a classic American now. What do you mean? I'm gonna go in guns blazing, Docker. How they say it? Doctor? It's like some very unnatural.
He sounds charming as ever.
But they're fun. I love a good old it's the kind where it's a fun game I play with my wife where I'm like, do you think he's an American?
Yeah.
It's like, yes, no. All right. I did like this scene though. Very Moffat-esque. This almost feels like an episode Stephen Moffat would have wrote. But all right, I got it. If last episode we talked before how this era feels a lot like Russell T Davies trying to write like Moffat did, which I'm not necessarily bad at. I like a lot of what Moffat put into Doctor Who. Last episode was all the worst of Davies and Moffat. This was the best of Davies and Moffat, I think. I can't even really point to a lot of what's Moffat. It just has a vibe. Maybe it's being HD, honestly. that might be a big part of it. But like this whole bit where the police box give hope is from the Moffat era. And I do like the sentiment. I love that it wasn't intended, but the Doctor just embraces it now. A little maybe not great in 1950s Alabama, but Florida, but it's the thing of like, police, we're here to help. The thing on the door literally says respond to all calls. And I like, just look at his face. I like how happy he is about his police box. And I like that he's kind of a force for hope that shows up all around. And I don't remember a lot of the lines, but I think the dialogue was very well written. The side characters were all fantastic. The complete opposite of last episode, where you literally had John Rambo named Manny. This one, I really like them. I mean, they're simple. Mother has a missing son. Film projectionist has a dead wife. But they just came across a lot better. And maybe it's like, writing school 101, but just some of the things where it's like he doesn't say his wife died in a car crash. He says his wife tried to cross the road. And that's like probably the worst example of show don't tell. It's like, but we've got that back. It's good. And these characters felt more like how you should write. We learned that we learned a lot about the kid who went to the cinema just because of how his mom talks. And I don't think we ever hear that kid speak.
I don't think so.
Maybe. No, he does. He says it was night. That's his line.
3 words.
Yeah, you don't have to pay him if it's only 3 words, you know. He could be an extra. I don't know if I've got too much until Mr. Ringading shows up, really.
I like of ambiance of the classic little, I don't know, thriller where they're sneaking into the theater. They set up this little.
I want to call out the scene here where the doctor's like, Mr. Pye, it's like, now I know this is a segregated space, but, and there's a long pause. I just got my wife like, we broke in? Like, what? Yeah. Where's this? It's like, yeah, this looks real bad, doctor. I think his response is, we just wanted to look around. It's like, oh, yeah, that's all right then, you know? It's, I found that funny. It's like, yeah, this one is actually pretty bad.
Yeah.
You know, Mr. Ringading. You know what? Let's talk about it. Is there anything we haven't said about Mr. Ringading you want to add? Because
we'll get to how freakishly horrifying he is at the end of the episode.
Oh yeah, 3D Mr. Ringading can't hurt you. He's not
the worst thing I've ever. It was horrifying.
The ending would have read different if he stayed 3D and like became the cosmos.
Yeah. I
love it. He's drawn just like some 1960s, 50s character. I love I loved this episode's diegetic music joke where he's doing the sad thing and Belinda's like, you even come with a soundtrack. Yeah, I laughed at that. That's how you do a diegetic music joke.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of surprised how little this episode broke the fourth wall, if that makes sense. We literally meet Doctor Who fans, but like I noticed there's maybe 1 or 2 scenes where Mr. Ringading looks at the camera. When the Doctor's being dragged away, he kind of looks up and the camera is like, the greatest... Wait, does he... No, the greatest story ever told. That's the line. It kind of works for Mr. Ringading, though, for me. Because it's very subtle. It's like when his head's moving. I say a lot of the time when a character just looks in the camera, like your eyes have to always look somewhere. Yeah. And if there's an invisible camera, you know, like they're not looking at the camera most of the time. Yeah. That's kind of my take. It's still bad practice to have your actor look down it, but Mr. Ringading's a cartoon. Like he should be looking, I guess, like sideways at where a camera would be at all times. Mm-hmm. And it kind of works because it's him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think too. There's kind of there's a lot of fourth wall breaks, but
in universe,
they're breaking their fourth wall that still maintains art.
They've torn down the drywall on the fourth wall because they're redoing it, but the wall is still there.
Yeah,
that's a fun way to say it. Like, but no, the voice was fantastic. I love the song. It has been in my head since before we hopped on this Discord call. No, he's great. I loved Lux as well. It's a murderous cartoon. It's almost cliched at this point. But he hit it just right. I don't know. I don't think I would like the cartoon itself, having watched it. I mean, I don't really like any old cartoons I've seen. I know, sorry, like Looney Tunes level old, you know, the things that actually would have played at the front of a cinema. But I loved him here. I love, it's the cold open, but when he starts talking to the cinema people, just the look of someone who should look like this big guy, but actually has that expression right there in the thumbnail. I just love the discontinuity there, the juxtaposition. It will get me, and they committed. There's the line, I think it's coming up. Let's go over this speed run of the jokes. I'm a 2-dimensional character. You don't expect backstory. The characters becoming more, gaining more emotional depth making them more physically deep. The music joke we already talked about, where he comes with his own soundtrack. He'll come up, but this episode was full of someone who cared and really knows what they're talking about. I love it, and I'd love to know who that is. Is it Davies? That could be the new Discord icon. You know what? It's such an easy art style. I really should have had Alex do a thumbnail like that for me. Would have taken him 5 minutes, and I knew this guy was gonna come up.
There's so the animation of Ring-a-Ding, and even in all these stills, it's like really traditionally well done.
He's got like the you might know the word on the old film. Sometimes it's dust or the grain, just the graininess of like the silver that was in the reel of film showing up on his body, which is great. I do want to call out Belinda being like, they don't have holograms. He's not a hologram. Wow, your body's made of light. I don't know what you think a hologram is, Kanan, but for me, I'm from Star Trek. That is a hologram. It's light.
Projected.
None of this. This is Doctor Who. I'm not talking about some of this. You go to Walmart and buy your hologram. I'm talking about like you're on the holodeck, or it's like your big, I don't know, it's sci-fi hologram.
Yeah.
Kids these days don't know what a real hologram is.
We got new hologram. I say.
You know what? I've just realized I want to see Mr. Ring-a-Ding cosplays. Those will be fun.
Oh, they're gonna exist, yeah.
But I'd like to mention this whole sequence. I think it's just perfectly executed. This episode is probably like a 10 out of 10 still up to here. But the Doctor and Belinda react exactly how you should is when a hologram shows up. And then I love the lines like, I showed up and they disappeared. If you can figure that one out, maybe they'll come back. And that's the moment the Doctor kind of starts going down the wait a minute.
Yeah.
Everything about that is done. And I love as soon as the Doctor starts displaying signs of like, I know. He gets this face. He turns. Yeah. It's just brilliantly well done. The projectionist, then. I do want to say, it feels kind of weird to glorify this god, you know. And then he is, like, instantly cut off from his speech of how amazingly powerful he is, which, to be fair, amazing speech. I love that reveal. To then be like, ah, crap, I gotta do this. I'm Mr. Ring-a-Ding. I'll get you. It's like, well, I guess it can't be that powerful. Puny god, am I right? You know? That was a little weird. But generally, I like that, yeah, he's the god of light, but that's more the window dressing to, like, how we got the cartoon here, so that the cartoon could be the villain in his own right.
Yeah.
And they actually used the window dressing well.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like. Let's go to Mr. Pie, who I think did a very good job as an actor. He probably suffered from, like, the American accent the least. He's the kind of guy who I would expect to write this episode and, like, doesn't really want to be famous for it, you know?
Yeah.
And now he's thrust in this scenario. I really liked him.
Yeah, the credit to Remy was, like, simple, very simple, but effective. Like, it was trimmed all the fat. I liked him.
All the time redoing the first episode went into this so it could get double time. I loved his scene where he talked about, like, and don't tell me that she isn't real, because if that thing is, and that whole scene, his justification, I'm, like, fully on board with. The Doctor's reaction I loved too was, like, smiling at that guy. I don't even know if I can, like, fully understand why, or tell you why he is, or even why he should be smiling. It's kind of like you're right, you know? And I like that take, because I feel normally you would get she's not real. And this episode never went there. It arguably went the other way and said, like, no, this is literally your wife. Like, somehow her soul has entered this photo from beyond the dead. I really liked that take.
Yeah, I've because when he was starting the explanation stuff, I was even in my own head. I was like, oh yeah, he's being tricked. It's not real. And then he said that, and I was like,
well, yeah.
Oh. I guess you got to.
Yeah. And it's not even like it's what I like from the doctor's reaction is it's like I don't care if you're right because you're happy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the kind of vibes of and you're not hurting anyone. In a sense, he is, but he's like, this is just like the guy. Look, this is the guy who's chosen to run a cinema like this. He's doing it for as a passion. He's not prepared to deal with like Lux Incarnate.
Yeah,
you know. And so I really like Shooty and all the episodes that have been the good episodes. He's been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't think he's ever been bad. I guess I've got some nitpicks, but you know.
That I don't know. As an actor, and having seen him in like Sex Education, phenomenal.
My first thing I saw him in was after he was announced. Someone did a clip of it's Eric, right, from Sex Ed. And he's like, this guy's going to be good as the doctor. And they had taken a clip from Sex Ed, they'd removed the music and imposed the kind of choral, you know, ooh, that music over this scene as him as the doctor. Like, what's he's going to be delivering a speech. You want to know what the speech was? Something to the effect of, everywhere in this world, people are shagging. They're thinking about shagging. They're like thinking of shagging someone else. They're thinking of shagging they had. They're even shagging right now. And he points. And I was like, God, but somehow it worked. I'm like, that man is the doctor. He's also wearing a fabulous rainbow coat, which I don't know if this is all Eric wears, but by God, that's what the 15th Doctor needed to wear.
Yeah.
Actually, let's talk about that. I feel like Russell T Davies wants to do like what all the outfits, fine. I feel like this is how you do it. Give him one or two outfits. You know, like I really love, what's the thumbnail one? The overcoat with the stripy suits.
Yeah.
And then let him dress up when he goes out. Because I love this. It's artificial, but I really like how they balance the uniforms and the color schemes of like everything in episodes nowadays. What specifically how Russell T Davies does it. Well, I mean, it's probably not him personally, but however he's set up the show to work. I've said before, feels like he's actually using the budget without detracting from the show. And in this episode, very much adding to the show.
I thought when came out of the thing that I only saw the blue, and so I was like, oh, the Doctor's re-wearing what he wore in the Maestro episode, and I thought that was really cool because it's like very similar time period. But then it wasn't, and I was a little disappointed.
He looks fantastic too.
He does. He very much does.
They might have shaved his head back as well, because the thick bits look like they did last episode.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if they're keeping hair continuity, God, what a nightmare, but well done. I'm glad those reshoots you had to do were for the last episode, if that's how it worked. But he also doesn't look like Lando at all. So it definitely is like thicker hair. I'd like to point out something fun about the outfits. I think is intentional, but the Doctor claiming to be Velma got a laugh out of my wife. But who's coming up a lot in these streams, this one. I pointed out that I liked how Belinda kind of has an orangey dress that feels like how you might do a formal Velma, original Scooby-Doo. And they pointed out that after Freddy was mentioned, the Doctor has a very formal basic outfit that's the white and blues that he used to wear. And he's got the tie in place of like the ascot. And when they become like Scooby-Doo, the Doctor especially starts talking like Fred, and Belinda like Velma. And yeah, obviously the sex is reversed, but I really hope that's an intentional detail because I love that.
Yeah.
I love that for the classic cartoon one, if they dress them up like Scooby-Doo and you didn't realize. it's, I just love that. I just thought, I wonder if that calendar is the one from last episode. Like, probably in that they reused the prop, to be clear.
Oh, they're in Florida.
Yeah, they are in Florida. I realized literally 10 minutes before the stream, so you're watching this, like, wait, Caden's in Florida. Except not today.
Not today.
That you might have seen Mr. Ring-a-Ding if you were in Florida today.
True.
Actually, here is something. They kept calling it an old cinema. Is it a new cinema right now, though? I don't know enough about film history to say.
That's a good question.
I get Belinda, you know, I'm not even necessarily complaining about it, but I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
Is it old? I was going to say it looks old, but like, yeah, it does. Yeah, this whole scene, I think every scene was well done, honestly. Even the ones where they're like in a void. Going here. Oh my god, I got confused for a second. Maestro. I want to highlight real quick. All the other people are stored in a very short piece of film. You know, basically, I'll talk about it now. It did kind of bother me where they moved the film real quick, right? Because they're trapped in the film. And I think we're supposed to treat this very literally, because, like, the projector burns the film they're in.
Yeah.
So, the doctor's one point's like, this won't work. But I'm like, won't you run out at one point, though? Like, that might work. Or I would have liked it if maybe... Well, you see what I mean? If they keep going down the film, right? Frame by frame by frame. There's not an infinite number of frames, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what? Won't they run out? And then maybe they can escape. I just thought maybe I would have had a line of like, that's how he'd trap us. I don't know. That's...
Yeah,
like, that's not necessarily bad. But, or maybe it's like, then we'll just stop. We'll cease. Like, that's the end of time, essentially. There's no more frames. But I don't know. They worked. They got out. Maybe I am right. Maybe that was the easy way out, and they just didn't think about it. I keep looking. This is so well done. Like, even on our paused frames. I guess it's literally just like... well, actually, I wonder. It's probably not hand-drawn. No, it wouldn't be. But it might just be hand-drawn in a digital sense.
I would think. I mean, with how it...
It have to be, surely.
To do that for this episode.
I'm gonna have to track down is it Redacted? The, like, behind-the-scenes show they do for this episode. I really need to watch those. But yeah, I want to call out, though. He specifically says the film is flammable, not explosive. Do we want to talk about whether or not old film stock is actually explosive now? Or when it comes up? Okay, I don't know. That's the important thing. I don't know if film stock will explode if you burn it. I feel like probably not, because otherwise a film projector is suddenly an extraordinarily dangerous machine, given if it gets stuck, the film will burn. And this does happen. But what I'm pretty sure is that a room full of film stock burning will not explode with such force that it destroys like 2 brick walls in another room.
Yeah, that much I don't believe is accurate. They are, though, incredibly flammable and dangerous and have been throughout.
I believe that. Look, I'm a Doctor Who fan. There are missing episodes. You know what we did to get... Well, actually, that's a point. I think we burned them. Don't quote. I know that enough for a fact. But yeah.
Maybe something in the room that was explosive.
Are those red buckets in the background water buckets in case of fire? Have we not invented the fire extinguisher yet?
I can't exactly tell. It might be.
I swear it says fire. Also, does he sleep here? I guess, actually. Oh, yeah, duh. He lives here. He's locked in. That makes sense. Um, no, I mean, I also love the thing about an evil cartoon is that they have to actually be like terrifying, and this scene really does help show, like the way the way he does it in the comical line too. It's like if Mickey Mouse telling you how he's gonna rip out your intestines through your ear. You know, like it just shouldn't. It's not supposed to happen.
Kind of like Bill Cipher energy.
There's another murderous cartoon.
Yeah, comedic. With the comedic line delivery of like also like I'm gonna light everything on fire and kill your wife that I brought back to life. It's like, okay, geez.
Can we appreciate that Mr. Ring-a-Ding doesn't have motion blur?
Yeah, he's in focus and nothing.
Always in focus because he's animated. You know, they had to sit down being like, do you want us to blur Mr. Ring-a-Ding? And like, brilliant. I think as well, they did a very good job, generally, of not showing Mr. Ring-a-Ding for budget reasons, limiting his use, but still making him feel there. And to be clear, he's in a lot of the episode. I think they did something for budget cutting, which is harming the episode, and I'll get to that. But I think they good use of the episode. Oh my God, Caden. I almost forgot my big thing. Way back here, right? I don't know if we've had a lot of talk of show don't tell. It's been in Doctor Who a lot because of the Chibnall era. But when they investigate the cinema, right? This is very much tell don't show. I don't mind the flowers so much. It was brought to mind because what gets me is we have a close-up of that notice on the door that says like condemned by police or whatever. Yeah. And Belinda's line after we cut away is literally, it says condemned by police for the Dale County Police Department.
Uh-huh.
So apparently one thing I've learned is a lot of writers have been saying that studio executives have been mandating as characters explaining what's on screen. Because you see it a lot. In Doctor Who, it did start around the Chibnall era, and I intentionally will not throw blame here on like Chibnall or the BBC or something for that. But because the expectation is that the audience is watching it on their phone and doing something else, and they aren't looking at the screen, which is what my wife does, and it always gets me. And even I'm like, oh, you'll want to look at that. And you know what they do? They keep looking at their phone for like 3 seconds. They look up. I'm like, well, it's not on the screen anymore. And like, they miss fun stuff. But like, I don't like it because it makes the shows worse.
I mean,
and it almost enforces a thing. Like when I'm very rarely on my phone watching something. When I am, it's because it's lost my interest and I'm done with it, you know, which is still like basically never.
Yeah.
Maybe on like a rewatch. Sometimes I'm like the classic Doctor. I'm like, I know this is a slow scene. Like I might check something real quick. But it almost seems to create like a positive feedback loop. But like, well, duh, I'm going to be on my phone because you're making the show for someone on their phone. It's not engaging enough in its own right. And like, I listen to Big Finish audio dramas, right? I'm no stranger to characters explaining what's going on. There's an art to it, don't get me wrong. But like, not even Big Finish would have said something like that. Like you could have even, if you had to do it, you could have had them walk up to the door and just say, condemned by police. Because, like, it's sensible, especially with the Doctor there looking at other things. I would have said, too. In a writing sense, I probably would not have literally said, this says condemned by police. But, like, that is a fairly natural enough thing to say. Mm-hmm. What really gets me is they specify it's Dale County. And my wife, like, it's such an unnecessary level of detail of something we just saw. And to be fair, Dale County isn't, like, explicitly, you'd have to look, there's a logo. And my wife was like, no, they did do it for a reason, because you have a New York policeman later. You know what
true.
New York is not? In Florida.
That's true.
Yeah. We've also specified already that we're in Miami. I didn't know Miami was in, like, Dade County, but I also don't need to know that because New York is not in Florida.
You raise a good point.
You know? And it just, that got me. Anyway, that reminded me because we flashed back to other episodes of Doctor Who, which I actually, I don't mind. We probably don't need it. It does feel a little like, I want to say childish, but that's not quite right. It's like, but I think that's coming from the same place of like, oh, they're going to be on their phones. And I don't know why putting something on screen. Maybe it's to save budget. You don't have to animate Mr. Ring-a-Ding. But, yeah. Here we go. I don't know if this is a reference, Palm Bay and 21st. I'm trying to think back of the other episode that was set in Florida. That was like 2 presidents.
I like the animated version of the cinema behind them.
Yeah, I like that it was Miami. It very much fits in like Scooby-Doo-esque. Maybe that's a bit bland behind Belinda. But actually, this is probably kind of detailed if we're really being honest. But
by standards, yeah.
I love it. I'd actually seen the image of them both in like the 70s style. I either forgot or didn't realize it was in Doctor Who. I thought it was like a game promo or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, very well done. We already talked. I love about becoming more 3-dimensional. If you noticed, when they talk about like their traumas or whatever, their acting becomes more like how they usually speak.
Yeah.
I just thought that got a laugh. It was having fun with it's just a bunch of puns, I guess, but in a way that made sense. You know what it felt like? It kind of feels like a good experimental Big Finish, which is like probably one of the highest compliments I could give an episode. Because that's just good Doctor Who and something you've never seen before.
Yeah.
And like, I've seen, you get this. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, some other stuff. I don't know if they play around with the concept like this, or in this specific manner as much.
Yeah, in this way.
And you sure as hell don't get them as the god of light.
That's true.
That's Doctor Who's thing. I mean, a lot of Doctor Who is just like, here's this thing. You like mummies? What if aliens? You like Nazis? What if tanks? Then you get the Daleks. But I know. You like Nazis came to mind. I'm like, I have to say it now. But yeah, one thing I wish they did, right? Probably could have done it for this scene, and I don't know if there's a technical reason this is impossible with the new cameras they have. I would have liked to play around with these black bars at the top and bottom. I would have liked, like, if they went to the real world, the quote-unquote, the black bars weren't there anymore.
Yeah.
Or you know what I might have even done is I might have made this square. I might have changed the aspect ratio to like Scooby-Doo in the 50s.
Yeah, I would have loved that. I adore like aspect ratio and storytelling and how it can changing throughout a show. That would have been
You could have done it for the animated section. My only concern is transitioning away from the animated section because I guess you have the film roles. But I mean, film is like, in this day, it would have been square anyway. It wouldn't have been this ratio. So like maybe it was too hard, but I bet there's probably something if you really wanted that you could have figured it out.
Yeah.
But we're really getting into budget now, so maybe it's impossible. I think they did fantastic with this budget though. Unless in like 3 episodes we get the one that they clearly stole the budget from.
Yeah.
But so far, this seemed like a brilliant allocation. They kind of seem weird in like these scenes. But
Yeah,
I don't even like that's kind of a complaint, but I don't even know if it can be because like yeah,
yeah, it's like supposed to be.
you know,
Yeah.
it feels cheap, but it's kind of what you were saying for where you're just so not ready for it. It really knocks you off your feet this episode in a good way. In a
Yeah.
good way. Um, I I love a detail as this, and I think these are intentional. When they're pulling the film down, right? They don't do it any faster, because like obviously, but the frame rate is increasing because they're pulling it down, and that's what speeds it up. Is that
Yeah.
there's more frames of pulling per second? I can't. Russell T Davies wrote this one. I'm sorry. No, I don't. I refuse to believe it. Like he co-wrote. Come on. It's not that it's good. It's that it's the things that it's like paying attention to and doing don't seem like the things he usually does.
Yeah.
Especially in this new era.
Mm.
But I mean, he knocked it out of the park here. This scene, I talked before. I love Belinda's reaction, how confronting the racism.
Yeah.
I would want them both in the hypothetical racism episode, not because Belinda's black, but because that's the kind of energy I think the companion should have. Is they should be extremely frustrated by the situation, both of them.
Yeah.
And I get even more broadly, I want to see her confronting injustice in a way that infects her.
Mm.
So it's a good thing she's a Doctor Who companion because she'll probably get to do that. But I think she plays it very well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've really had a companion who pushes back like that since maybe Donna? I mean, obviously they're not pushovers, but there's something in the way that she does it that makes her feel different.
Hmm.
I think I went on record saying that I can't get excited for a modern day companion before, like anymore. Yeah. But Belinda's probably maxing out how much I can get excited for a modern day companion. Which, don't get me wrong, is still like less than something new. You can have all these qualities in like someone from the future. Arguably, you could have them more. Like someone from the year 5 billion might actually be appalled at like a 1950s American segregation.
That's true, yeah.
Also, Alex hasn't come down here, so feel free to come down and rank the episode. I don't remember what they gave it. I think they might have agreed with the fake fans. that usually that's a harsh thing to say, but yeah, like a 7 out of 10, but I don't remember. And like this again, this felt wrong because you're not supposed to do it, but I don't think I can complain because, like, obviously,
yeah.
If I really want to nitpick, I'm like, how do they know where the camera is? But like, they did know where the frame is, so.
Well, I mean, if I were to knowing what I know, I could assume that the frame is up and down and the camera is just somewhere in front of me.
But they're in a void. How do you know where in front of you is? You see what I mean?
Well,
but like, what do they see? Do they see the frame like spinning? Do they? Well, I don't know. I was waiting, right, ever since they got into film, for what was like a 9-10 out of 10, written by Russell T Davies, because I knew, to cross a line and then go, nee.
Yeah.
And then it crossed a line. Oh, I thought we'd get there. No. And then we had the fans. I was like, there they are. I see that Tello shirt. There's the line. We'll get to that because that's the biggest scene. Yeah, no, I think I went to Alex too when they went out. I'm like, a flat screen? It's the 50s. I was like, oh no. They have Weeping Angel pillow. I like that art.
Close.
Can I get that? I want that pillow.
Pretty good looking pillow.
I want to know if all this is merch or not. Like,
yeah.
can you buy? I think I might have seen that Telos shirt though. What a shelf. Oh my god, that's a Slovene action figure.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, I don't know what that purple is. Sarah Jane? I don't that what a shelf. Is that Matt Smith in a cowboy hat? I want the confidential. Oh my gosh, is that a framed photo someone's taken with Shooty Gadwa? As like I want that. I that's what I want from this scene. Is someone to point at the shelf where they met Shooty Gadwa at a convention and took a picture with them? Could you imagine?
That's funny.
It's like, no, I met your actor. It's like, whoa. First off, I want to get the nitpick out of the way, right? Okay, here's me. This is you guys on stream. This is how I picture you all. This is me, and this is Caden, right?
Yeah, accurate.
So, how does the Doctor know which one Blink is? Within the canon of the universe, he's not a fictional character. He is a Time Lord. He doesn't know any of this. How does he know which one Blink is? Because I thought about this. He starts critiquing. He's like, what about the one where I'm on a landmine? Or the one with... How does he know?
Well, I mean...
It's like if you asked me, what's my favorite episode of your life? It's like, the runaway scooter. It's like, which one's that?
How often does the doctor talk about blinking? Vital.
There's 4 Weeping Angel episodes.
Well, so then to him, he's probably thinking, oh man, something to do with the Weeping Angels.
Well, maybe, but like, there's the Silence, who, if you stop looking at them, you forget about them. Mm-hmm. There's the one with the Sandman, where there's like the eye gunk attacks you. It's a bad.
He's talking about blinking.
There's the one where like his eyes are burning and he has to keep them closed.
Well,
there's the several episodes where he's blind. Want to keep going?
Be able to narrow it down to a few.
Well, how does he know it's not one of his? There's that was the nitpick. There's the moment where one of them points is like, this episode though, and I'm like, are you about to like praise your own episode in a meta sense or like critique it? Oh yeah, they ended up critiquing it, but I'm like, that's dangerous because you don't know if we like this one or not.
Yeah.
Another fun detail: the woman who says, I knew this would happen because of the leaks. This actually was leaked, apparently. I learned from the comments. And I'm like, they were like, do you think this was an intentional leak or not? And now, the great thing about this leak is that it has thrown literally every leak into question now. Because people are like, did Russell leak intentionally? And like, is it gonna come back? Even there's a scene where then Miss Flood is like, show ends like May 24th. And they're like, is Russell T Davies like spreading cancellation rumors because like the season finale is gonna be the end of the show, but like fictitiously? But yeah, okay. Let's start with you. What do the filthy casuals think of the fictitious Doctor Who fans?
Well,
okay.
I don't think it was. It is the epitome of this episode being like, what do I even compare this to?
It's the epitome of this era. Yeah.
I didn't hate it. I mean, I think this could have been done so much worse.
Oh God, yes, it could have actually been a TV show. That like when we got in this world, I went, it's gonna be the fans are fake. That's the out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's Russell,
But then I don't know. I don't know if it could have been done better. I think it was just so. I mean, I took a bite of this episode, and I'm tasting a flavor I've never tasted before.
I was much better on the rewatch. I didn't like it. But here's the complaint, right? I've seen this a few times on Reddit too. It was too long. Shout outs, by the way, it actually is 30 minutes when they say 30 minutes. So it's like 2.5 minutes? A little over 2 minutes, this scene. My theory, right? This is a modern day London flat.
Mm-hmm.
This has to have been the cheapest part of the episode, right?
Yeah.
This is making up for just everything else. This is so long because this cost $20, you know? I guess you might need a day of filming, but this is studio bound. You could do it like any other day with the TARDIS scenes. You know, you get 3 random people, some Doctor Who merch from the wardrobes. Heck, a lot of people probably own it. People bring in their DVDs, you know. I guess this is all we could muster for classic. What? You own all the classics. Why just those ones?
They're still collecting.
Are they the new? No, this one's old. In fact, this is the American version, this season right here for John Pertwee. Wait, is that season out? Oh, yeah, it is. It just, I don't think I have it as an American yet. That confused me. I'm like, did we just leak? Wait a minute. Did I know that season was coming out? Yes. Yeah, it was too long. I feel like if we had spent half the time here, or even just cut the bit about, the like at the end when they're talking, like after they know they're fake but when they left, it would have been better. But I think we needed it for budget reasons, and I think I can live with what I think we gained from that. I mean, what is this episode? 45 minutes? So it's on the shorter end of a streaming episode. It's like it's exactly as long as it had to be.
Yeah.
But I think it's budget, because this was a big intense, and I'm not complaining. They did amazing with their budget. I do have a nitpick too, especially in terms of length, is when they're saying they're like gonna die because they're fake. In their own words, they don't think they're real. I might challenge that, but this woman is like, but it's okay, doctor. It's because of you. I met my 2 best friends. It's like,
yeah,
but you didn't. You didn't exist until like 2 minutes ago, and you're gonna cease to exist. Like, I get your friendship feels real, but evidently you believe you're fake. So why do I care?
Well, I mean,
I made the doctor cry, though, because we did have to fill the quota. We were dangerously low.
Yeah.
I actually didn't think he cried in this episode, and then I spotted it on a rewatch. Here, I'll get the frame if you missed it. It's subtle.
It is, yeah.
He's actually, it's a little ways 40. We're on 50 seconds of this scene now, I'd like to point out. Yeah. Oh, there he is. No, well, okay, just trust. There we go. He's crying a bit. It's more obvious later. Yeah, I want to point out that so far one of the best episodes of his run is the one where he cried so little you probably didn't notice. Just saying. Also, one of the others is 73 yards, and I know he wasn't in it, but that's one of the ones he didn't cry. No. We've talked before about it. It's just overuse. I will say, though, actually, this one maybe feels a little unwarranted.
Yeah.
He's beloved by these fictitious individuals. I don't know.
I mean, they're gonna die.
Honestly,
Yeah. I'm not surprised anymore.
It's one of those things. I'm only mentioning it because other people make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
Also, this woman reminds me a lot of Mel, who wasn't she in last season? Did you meet Mel? Mel Bush
no.
at Unit? I could have sworn, but maybe... Yeah. No, she was. She was in the finale. Remember the redhead? Who... Doctor Who Mel Bush. All right, now give me an old Mel Bush.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why you can see that on stream, because once again, I'm not capturing this window. I can see on OWS, I don't have the capture line. But anyway, she reminds me a lot of Mel because it's like, you know, same hair color, same accent.
Yeah.
Just generally the same. And I've highlighted I've highlighted the UI elements, and it's really bothering me, and I can't fix it. I also liked as well the fact the solution. Well, first off, the frame is upside down in the camera because that's how it actually is.
Yeah.
Again, with the attention to detail. Although, I guess it was the BBC. They probably just like got one of their cameras from storage.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, that wow. I liked that the solution utilized how the film actually works. If this was, I know enough about this sort of thing to respect what went into it and get what I think is most of the stuff. But I can tell if you were really into it, this is your episode. This is the number one episode of Doctor Who for a certain type of person, which I love. Mm-hmm. I love. Just like how your number one is dinosaurs on a spaceship, because of course it has dinosaurs. Yep, that's the one thing this one was missing.
Yeah, would have made it better.
I can't wait till you get to that episode and like are so underwhelmed and are like, man, I've been saying for years. Mr. Ringed. Okay, what do you think about using the regeneration? As I try and find a good frame. There we go. Using the regeneration energy for Mr. Ringading.
I got caught up on the mention of
bi-generation.
Yeah.
No thoughts. Not enough of a fan.
It's not an awful idea, but I'm not sure how you can sap the regeneration energy or the leftover bi-generation energy out of the Doctor.
So that's how you suck it out. Yeah, okay. But that you can transfer it. That's been established. Okay. I don't think he could like make his companion regenerate, but he can use it to heal. That sort of thing is established. We've gotten a bit it's come up a surprising amount, this sort of regeneration stuff. And of course, you kind of know some stuff from like the end of Last Era where it's a bit funny. Honestly, God knows how much regeneration energy the Doctor has left. That's the point now. So I was a bit like, man, are we throwing away another... Do I want to count? We've probably thrown like 4 regenerations away in the past few seasons doing stuff like this. But like, he mentioned that it's extra from the bi-generation. That kind of made it work for me. By God, I'm still trying to count. That? Yeah, it's like, it's a whole generation of bisexuals on Gallifrey. It's very, I don't know. But Alex is here to rank and discuss, I don't know, is this your favorite?
So far this season.
Real quick, because you make these thumbnails. You are an animator.
I try.
Well, you're more drawings. You do some animations, but I don't know if you're into the animation process. Is why
yes,
you're an animation fan.
I know the animation process, and that this is probably
Mike's here,
and that this is probably done on 24 frames per second, especially given the type of animation style it is.
Okay, so pause real quick. If someone, I don't care if you're watching this 5 years from now in the comments, if someone can verify if Mr. Ringading actually has a different frame rate to the episode, I would love that detail. But go on.
Especially given the time period that he's supposed to be set in, which is a 50s cartoon.
Yep. Go on. I'm supposed to be doing this in the background, Alex.
You distracted me. Yeah. You're distracting me by doing this.
No, I'm done.
Yeah, the animation is well done, especially making the animation look of the time period it's supposed to. I was waiting for there to be a racist caricature, if I'm being honest, in his cartoon. Because that's what they did in the 50s.
I don't think that would have worked.
I do like that they changed his, when he was talking about moonlight, they changed his pupils to being moons. I wish they would have done that with the sun when he saw the sunlight, but they just made his eyes gold.
I think they changed his eyes when... I'll have to look. When he was, like, being more evil in Un-50's cartoon, he had more normal eyes than when he was just a cartoon.
I think he has pie eyes. Can you go back to Mr.
He's got 1950s eyes.
Yeah, those are called pie eyes.
I guess he doesn't change them, but... Yeah.
His CGI version was horrifying.
We're not there yet.
Oh, well.
Yeah. What do you rank it?
I ranked it an 8. I think that the characters in the show are a bit harsh on it.
Yeah, they are, but you don't want to, like, overblow it, you know?
Yeah. But I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. It was campy and...
Same as Joy to the World. That's actually a little on the low end for you, but... It doesn't really... Look, these mean nothing. You want to complain? Because I complain every time we fill this out.
No, why would I complain?
Okay. About how dumb you were in the past. Like, when what'd you give Boom again? 7.5, that's right.
I think all mine are pretty accurate. It's a pretty good show.
You gave Empire of Death a 9.5? You gave the finale a 10?
I think it was in context of the rest of the season.
A 10?
I don't remember the episode.
God. Anyway.
Yeah. It was a good episode. It was as campy as I liked Doctor Who being. And the only thing I wish there was more of is I wish they would have done a sequence of the Doctor and Belinda more as 2D characters, especially since they did it in the Hanna-Barbera style, which was because it seems like the 15th Doctor is pseudo 70s, makes sense for them to do Belinda and the Doctor in Hanna-Barbera, which is more of the 70s and 60s animation style. Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. I had an idea. I know Hanna-Barbera. I had an idea.
I don't know.
I wanted to... I brought up with Caden when they were in the real Doctor Who fans, right? It looked like they had a picture of, like, the Doctor in front of the TARDIS framed. I wanted a scene where someone pointed to a photo of them meeting Shruti Gadwa at a convention and being like, I met your actor. It's like,
that would have been funny.
I don't think I want them to say Shruti Gadwa. That would have been too crossing the line. Like, how does the Doctor know what episode Blink is? But if they didn't, as long as they didn't say Shruti Gadwa, that would have done it. Because, of course, he needs an actor if he's fictional.
Or they could have done David Tennant because he's the Doctor every other Doctor.
I don't know. The thing is, you'd have to get David Tennant for that, but Shruti Gadwa's here. David C., thank you for the $20. You don't have to let my wife know that I get paid to do this, though. That's not important.
By the way, where's my $30 for these thumbnails?
Who pays most of the bills?
Where's the
30? This one was 30?
No, that one was 15.
Oh, I did
the
another
past
one. Yeah, no, you're right. Oh, no. Shoot. Oh, you did an 8. I ruined that. Well, anyway, thank you for joining.
You're welcome. You're the one who brought up money.
No, David C. brought up money.
No, he gave you money.
I know. All right.
Oh, I will say an animation detail that you might not notice is it looks like that something that is a bit out of date or like too futuristic is it looks like Mr. Ring-a-Ding is actually done in what's called the Cal Arts style, where it's the shape of the head kind of gives it away. So I wouldn't be surprised to find out that the animators went to Cal Arts.
No, that's pretty Popeye, I think. Popeye.
It looks Popeye-esque. But...
Just like the other lady was Betty Boop-esque, but
Yeah.
Oh, not Pop Eyes. Cartoon.
Popeye the Sailor Man. It's the way his mouth is drawn.
What about this guy?
He looks sort of similar.
Yeah, I think this guy could have been drawn in the 50s.
He could have, but it's giving... But the, like, shape of his head is giving more.
All right, I'm sorry. If you're that
Alex
kind of
stuff.
person, this isn't your favorite episode. This is, like, the one you nitpick for all the... Actually, those notes in the Devil's Chord were wrong.
Yeah.
They were. Murray Gold was literally in that episode. I don't know how you did music wrong.
Yeah. They could have given him a more cartoony voice. Like,
no.
No, like, had
Perfect.
the actor put on, like, a... I'm Mr. Ring-a-Ding. It could have been more a hayuk.
I don't know what you think this song was, but that was perfect for me. Actually,
I'm
no,
just
I will
saying
give
if
you.
they
I will
wanted
give
to
you.
make it more authentic to
If
50s cartoon, as somebody who's watched 50s
I will say,
cartoons.
I've just heard Ring-a-Ding too much. He's perfect. As a classic cartoon character, Alan Cumming is not perfect. He's good, but he's not perfect. As an evil cartoon, he's flawless, and that makes up for like
Yes.
the 5% he's lacking as the cartoon.
Yeah. It's a perfect depiction of an evil cartoon. It's just in the cartoon when he is actually the cartoon. I think they could have done a bit more throwing of the voice to be a bit more cartoonist.
I think he does emotions good. He does like the crying voice well. I think the super high emotion voices, but the standard voice isn't.
David C.
classic.
gets it. Very
Yeah.
CalArts, but also kind of Popeye.
There you go. I'm sure they paid it. Like, they wanted it to be new. And also, they couldn't literally do, like, someone else's style because that's copyright.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it works. I believe him.
Yeah, I could see this as a
Yeah.
cartoon. It's just, as somebody who, like, studies cartoons,
I forgot. I'm sorry.
I can very much, like, tell the type of style. Like, I wouldn't
Yeah,
be
yeah.
surprised to find out that the animators or, like, his character designer worked at CalArts. I don't know if they did the animation, where they did the animation, if they did it, like, in-house of an actual animation studio or they outsourced it to... I think right now they outsource a lot of animation generally to Korea.
You're so quiet. It's
Sorry.
there. I leave the volume open. I think I mentioned you to Alex, but I haven't on the stream. I think I saw someone on the Reddit said they would have loved a segment where they were animated in the style of the missing Doctor Who episode animations.
You mentioned that to me.
Yeah. Specifically, I think I said when they film is burning, they should have had a brief section where they became that style because it's a lost
For
episode.
like frame, not like
Yeah.
an actual frame, but for like a frame of when
Enough to
film-
catch it and be like, I see what you did there.
You know, when the film reel, one of those frames, if one of those was a missing
I don't know.
episode, I think
I
that
would've
would have
loved to
been
put it.
hilarious.
Because I want it when the film's destroyed because it's a missing episode. then.
Or we both talked about when the film's being destroyed. If they would have zoomed in, it was in one
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
titles
I
was
brought
like
that up.
Marco Polo.
Wouldn't it be like, you know, the most tragic thing if this was like a missing episode when like they literally burn film? Could you imagine like Alex watching a missing 60s classic where they burn film? It's like, and they probably would have taken film from their archives. They literally might have burned a missing episode. You
Also,
know?
for all their references
Yeah.
to this being the toy maker's doing,
It's not his doing. He's just another god.
but Mr.
Yeah.
Ring-a-Ding references the toy
They're
maker as if this was his doing.
They're from the Pantheon, is what we're calling it, which is seemingly a family in the sometimes a literal sense.
Well, like, the
yeah.
episode implies that it's the toy maker's doing, because we directly flash back to the toy maker.
I think you're misremembering how it's explained, or you misinterpreted because you've missed the toy maker episode as well, maybe. But he's just like another one of what's being called the Pantheon. I can go over all the names for the quote-unquote gods if we want, but there's been a lot of them.
It just seemed like the episode was heavily implying this was
Yeah.
the toy maker's doing. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the toy maker was the big bad of this season, much like what's his face was last season.
I would. Do you know how much Neil Patrick Harris costs? Because I don't, but it's probably a lot. Well,
I also do love, out of all of the Pantheon that I know, which is the Toymaker and the Maestro, both of them are...
Sorry, I'm trying to move the mic closer to my wife.
Is this...
There, you want it just before the red.
Anyways, I like that out of the two of the Pantheon that I know, that being the Toymaker and the Maestro, both of them were of the LGBT community, because Neil Patrick Harris is gay.
I didn't know he was gay.
I didn't know he was gay.
That was a joke for my wife.
And then the Maestro being a drag queen. So it's just an interesting detail that I hope they continue for the rest of
Alan
the Pantheon.
Cumming, would you like to say something to the class? I don't know, he might be gay. I don't know.
Well,
But-
I don't think
No,
Mr. Ring-a-Ding is part of the Pantheon. Unless
he is.
they're...
It's Lux, the god of Lux. He had the big speech. I'm Lux. To be fair, I think I was telling you about how the giggle was from the episode The Giggle at the time, so you might have missed it. He did. He said he's the god. He's Lux, the god. Lux incarnate or whatever he said. But I don't think they should all be queer, because then we're approaching the cliche of...
Not them being queer, because
Yeah.
Neil
Well-
Patrick Harris plays a lot of
I think
straight characters. I think if all the actors were queer, that'd be a cool detail,
I
even if all the
think
characters are
you're
not.
approaching the older problematic stereotype of the only gay people in television being villains, especially lesbians. And I feel like that's a...
I don't...
I'm very...
As a gay,
yeah,
I don't think I
I don't know
am.
about that one.
I think it's an interesting detail, but they could also introduce part of the people from the Pantheon that aren't evil.
I don't know. If it doesn't have anything to do with the characters, I might rather they didn't. I feel like they're just casting anyone because they... Who's best for the role, I guess.
1.58.
But
Why
thank
is it
you.
close to being canceled?
Yeah, just Doctor has been saying that. Honestly, we've been saying that since the 80s. And to be fair, it was canceled in the 80s, but they've kept saying that. So, we'll talk later.
Is Shooter Gadwad gay?
Yes.
So,
This confused me. I remember him saying he was going to be the first gay doctor. And I'm like, what do you mean? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, the current one? And I realized, oh, he's the first gay actor. Yeah. No, he is. So he's a god.
yeah. So, he's an example of a gay god. Also, there's no way the Doctor himself isn't queer. He literally
God, no.
transitions into being a woman.
14th basically said it. So, yeah.
I think the Doctor's pan. The Doctor doesn't care what's in your pants. He cares what's in your
The
mind.
Gallifreyans are all above that stuff unless you're being written by Moffat.
Why's your ring off?
I think I was fiddling with it and it was making noise. I don't remember. All right, look, we're thank you. You've contributed to the episode. We're good now. Caden's been quiet for so long and he's desperate.
Oh, Caden.
He's desperate.
Please, Caden, tell me more.
It's been your
I'm not
guys.
wearing headphones, but tell me more, Caden. Do you have anything to add animation-wise?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Nathan's pushing me away.
Thank you, my love.
Wow, I see how I'm
Could you do the dishes? Thanks. Bye. I'm busy. I don't even know if we have dishes. All right. What were we talking about?
Well, this scene is right before the most horrifying.
Yeah, I think I skipped ahead a little bit. Don't have... Oh, yeah. The regeneration. I don't know. I think it was fine here. We do have a tendency to overuse it. But I am trying to count. The Doctor doesn't have infinite regenerations. He has a question mark number of regenerations, and I hope that comes up again at some point. But that's a conversation for our watch-alongs. I kind of like... I wasn't sure at first, but I kind of like that the take of light that gives energy. Or at least that's how Lux would see it. Light that gives a body.
Yeah, that part makes sense.
I can see that's the part that didn't to me.
Oh.
But I can see Lux poetically interpreting it and also it just works like that. A little weird to think that the Time Lords of Gallifrey have some sort of power beyond the gods in the sense of their discovery of regeneration. But, yeah, timeless child. I guess we could say, look, it's a thing. Be glad you don't have to worry about it. This did actually bother me a little bit. Now, look, it's literally the God of Light. I'm sure he could. But we just had a plot point where we relied on the fact that this film stock still, like, obeys the properties. They burned through it because it was in the projector.
Yeah.
I don't think you could hoist Ncuti Gatwa by film stock, as he actively struggles without... Yeah. Also, I don't know how he uncrosses his arms here, come to think about it. He's kind of... Maybe he is actually in a handcuff position, is he? Let's actually see if I'm right. If I'm... Oh, yeah, no. He's not. Dragon Bun Studios, welcome back, Alex, in the chat. I was like, I never kicked anyone. In fact, I could... should I temporarily kick my wife from the chat? No, let's not. Oh, yeah, thank you, Alex. Let's Google. Because I know that stuff can get eaten and jammed in the projector screen. Maybe you can. Again, I don't know that you can't hoist Ncuti Gatwa by film reels.
Wait, it depends on how much film reels you have.
Well, just one. That's the thing. It's not like double tight.
Yeah.
It is, I don't know why for this one, but it's a little weird seeing regeneration and energy from Ncuti Gatwa.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I knew Tennant was going to regenerate, but, I saw Jodie regenerate. You know what? It's because he's not regenerating. That might be it. It's the current Doctor and they're not regenerating, and that's the first time it's happened for me. Oh, I remember. We were counting the number of bodies that he's got. Okay, hang on. So, we got that. I'm not going to spend... Yeah, entertain him, Caden. Tell him about something. So we got...
What body are we counting?
That one. Yeah, no, I'm doing the Doctor's body count. Just don't worry about it.
Oh, got it.
Explain something. I'm doing... Then there was that one. There was that one.
I've ever held myself up by a film reel.
There's maybe 4. Thanks for entertaining them. I don't know. It gets a little finicky. There's decimal places here. Yeah. I like, by the way, how you seem to interpret the word body count, which has 2 meanings, and you chose one of them.
I did.
There we go. Where's Mr. Ring-a-Ding? I love how they did his hair.
I think critique on this scene,
yeah,
aside from how horrifying it is, that it's cool. Rule of cool. I think this exists because it's cool. Rule of cool.
Okay, so you're gonna like the Weeping Angel Statue of Liberty.
Well, but I can't justify why Mr. Ring-a-Ding goes through the stages of animation rather than just becoming alive.
Because he's getting a body, which he didn't have before. And so the body looks like Mr. Ring-a-Ding. Before he's light, and now he's flesh.
Yes, and that's fine to me. It's that in between he becomes computer-generated, empty texture, wire mesh, CGI, which in the real makes sense, the step of the evolution, but within the context of the episode,
there's actually, of course, because the last time someone kind of got a life, a body, was, of course, it's Easter Sunday, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And there's a bit in the Bible about how that happened to him, too. It actually happens to you in the womb as well. That's how it works.
Into a wireframe?
Yeah, because you got to plan it out. You don't want to, build the baby, then realize that actually you need to change it. You just do a wireframe of the baby.
The problematic thing, though, is that it's so cool.
I have an update from Alex. That film was very brittle till the 90s. I know, there's a few missing episodes. But also, modern film reel apparently may be able to hoist the Doctor up.
So maybe
it's magic, but
Yeah.
Rigging goes 3. Yeah, what? Ring-a-Ding, that makes sense. Goes 3D even though he doesn't become a 3-dimensional character. Well, he has a lot of backstory. He's getting a body. It's through regeneration energy.
Yeah, but if you get like the back 10 seconds,
There's a
on
back 10. That's gonna be too much.
back,
Yep.
no, just
Oh
give,
no,
you know,
this is my life out. Not Alex. That's too far. Doctor Who 3D Ring-a-Ding. That's just a picture of Belinda Chandra. Dang it, Google! You failed me. Okay, fine. Just go on. Keep talking about what you were gonna say.
Yeah, it's when he's not the animation, but he's not the fully fleshy.
Yeah, he does wireframe.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what we're looking. Oh, I guess it's already happened.
There you go.
He's already being terrifying here. Oh, see, look at how just.
Yeah, it's a little weird that he's like disgusting. I get thematically.
Yeah.
But is this how like the animator imagined Ring-a-Ding?
Oh gosh.
My
Yeah,
God.
I think.
Welcome, by the way, people who are just joining and don't know what's going on.
I think it's. I
Yeah.
enjoy how it's done. I guess, I don't know. Part of me that is more sophisticated than the filthy casual go, what are the lore implications of what's happening right here?
Look, the lore implicated. So they gotta like Kate. Look, it's Doctor Who. It only goes so far. If it's not Gallifrey or Earth, Dalek, Cybermen, Centauran, then like, does the lore even matter? Weeping Angel. Okay, look, there's a few where the lore matters, but in the grand scheme of things, someone imagined it like that.
Oh, I get away with it because I liked it.
Yeah. Sorry, I had an idea where, because my wife's in the chat, if there was some non-douchey way I could try and remind my wife that there is a donation button in chat for any fans that would like to donate some money. But I was like, no, I can't. Yeah, no. I mean, it was well done. I will say the idea, if Russell T Davies came up to me and said rule of cool, I'd have a heart attack.
Yeah.
Because, no. Rule of cool is how you get things like the Weeping Angel Statue of Liberty, which isn't even cool. Yep. There's a Weeping Angel is a Statue of Liberty. Don't think about it. But there's an interview, I think, where Moffat said someone, like, said that in the room, and we all just kind of were like, we gotta do it now. It doesn't make any sense, but, like... how could you not do it? And I'm like, easily. No one likes that part because it doesn't make any sense and it's not even that cool. It's not a big reveal when you go, what? How did no one see an image of an okay, no. I've got like 3 statues of liberties in my house. I think I got one in this room.
Oh man.
I don't actually.
Oh.
I don't know. Yeah, I got 2 in the living room, though. Do we want to talk about the bit where this guy's dead wife comes to him in a vision and tells him to commit suicide? I'm sorry, was that not your take on the scene? I'm sorry, my bad.
I don't particularly know what happened there.
Yeah, this was something after the episode. I think it's supposed to be like the spirit of his wife came, and basically was like, come find me, you're sad, whatever. I don't know about the messaging, especially in a show that, again, is targeting an under 35 and kind of trying to appeal to that younger audience, I think more than mainline Doctor Who has before. I don't know about the message, if your loved one dies, you should commit suicide to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I should be clear, don't. Especially because this guy seems to be living quite a happy life, despite, mourning his wife of 20 years. And I don't think the episode meant that message. And as Alex rightfully pointed out, it is so that Belinda doesn't have to die. Like, this character has a dead wife so that he can be disposable in a happy ending.
Mm.
But yet you still have the image of, like, either the actual soul of this guy's wife came and said he should sacrifice himself, let's word it that way, which, to be fair, it's a noble sacrifice. Arguably someone Actually, I don't think someone had to do it. He probably could have run away from the door.
Probably.
I don't think we've been over. Is it really explosive? I don't know if it's so explosive you don't have like a bit of time, like Belinda survived.
Yeah.
In fact, wasn't the doctor against the? Well, he's the doctor. You know, he can take an explosion. But yeah, that one was. I don't know about that. I think that one's that's like when they accidentally made the one that's against abortion with the moon.
Yeah.
It's like, but it wasn't the focus, and it was kind of the thing you had to realize afterwards. Oh yeah, or Lux kind of tricked him, but I don't know. I think it was the take if that was actually his wife, but they left it open enough in case you don't like that. Because Russell T Davies, given that these weren't real fans, they said Blink was their favorite. I'm sorry if you are the kind of person who would watch a 2-hour review of Lux and Blink is your favorite episode. But it's not these are pitched as like, you know, the cynical fans who don't like anything. I mean, they gave a 7 out of 10 and they gave nitpicks, right?
Yeah.
But which is kind of funny because again, the dedicated fan base loves this one. But yeah, I actually want to point out I kind of like that the fans figured it out. I don't like how they did because, for one, they didn't actually say it was an explosion, and like that's a weird Chekhov's gun actually. Because they didn't, but like, did the fans deduce that they were gonna blow up? Like, I thought that was gonna destroy Ring-a-Ding. That's where it was going, and so they only had to burn the one. But I guess it was that they realized it was gonna explode, or maybe in a more Reddit sense, they realized it was set up. But then you get into the question that in the Doctor Who universe, that's not a Chekhov's gun. That's the events as they play out. A writer did not set that up, but the fictional fans recognized what would be a Chekhov's gun if the show were a TV show, and they happened to be right.
So Lux is a good writer.
So, if you really want to get into the lore implications, as the Doctor said, the gods, which actually don't, it was really just the toy maker, but apparently the gods have to play by some set of rules, which involves telling the Doctor how to defeat them rather conveniently.
Yeah.
Although, of course, cryptically. But, so, like, maybe you could say yes, but the more I'm talking about this, the more I'm not sure. I think that was clunky. Okay, we'll just say I think it was clunky. But as Alex is spoiled in the chat, we thought he might have not blinked. And that would have actually been clever. If, like, closing his eyes made it so there was no light, right? And
Yeah.
but I was like, I think he does blink, though. He does blink, just to be clear. But that would have been cool.
I would have liked that. Yeah, that would have been.
And maybe then that's why you could even add that's why he doesn't want the sun. He'd have to shield his eyes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that take on him.
You know, it's the thing that like you'd have to think of it.
Yeah.
I'm not in love with the ending. I don't hate it, but it is a bit like I really need to buy one of these, you know, the clunk clunk. That was easy. You know, like this is a god.
Yeah.
I get Maestro was defeated by playing some notes with Soul. The Toy Maker was defeated in a game of cat. Look, Russell T Davies is not good with endings, and we know this.
Yeah, we do.
And it felt like a, you know, I can't help but think if Moffat had actually written this one, there would have been some twist. I mean, it might have been heavy air quotes clever, like, you know, the kind of clever that doesn't work if you think about it, but yeah. All right. It was well played, though, ignoring the fact that, you know, the dead wife told him to, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this guy did do a good job with his part. It's a small but important role, and he did it well. Decent accent, too. It is a little weird that it's mid-Atlantic, I guess. Assuming it is mid-Atlantic. It might just be, like, bad Southern. But there are English accents that are quite a lot like a Southern accent. I wonder if that would make it easier or harder to pull off. I think it's Bristolian. The Bristolian accent is, at least to my ear, very similar to a Southern. Don't get me wrong, there's differences. Southern isn't a fan, by which I mean the American South, isn't a fan of pronouncing the G in like hunting, fishing, ing words. But the UK generally does, or in a weird way. It's been a while. It's not transatlantic. Thank you, Alex. I knew you would know. It's bad Southern. Maybe it's bad transatlantic, but yeah. I do have to like the image though, of like
It was
it is kind of rebirth of Jesus in a way that I like, you know. Happy Easter. Ring-a-ding should have had a transatlantic accent. What does Betty Boop have? It basically the accent of that like girl in the sunshine. I don't know. Popeye's just got like manly voice.
yeah.
Grumble, grumble. That's Popeye. By the way, shout outs to Harbinger. Also, shout outs to Rock Hudson, who I Googled the second time around. He died of AIDS, if you didn't know. He was secretly gay, but like kind of openly secret in the industry, and then he got AIDS and died. The end. Shout outs to Rock Hudson, everybody. At the age of 50-something. So, yeah, go on.
My favorite frame of the episode.
Is not this one.
No, but it's soon after this one.
This one. That's a good one. But
that is really good, though.
It's the one where he's standing on Earth.
He gets so big, and he just exists in space. And there's the stars behind him, and he's all smiling.
I like him growing. So I wish you could see more like of where this was in Earth. I think this might be land. That might be a cloud. But I did love him just growing. It was fun. It was
that
God,
one in the thumb. It was so fun.
I loved it. It was the right kind. This is what I want Russell T Davies' weirdness to do. I don't want like fourth wall breaks and random stuff like that. I want this. And even honestly, I'm really coming around to those fake fans. I really am. Because I want them to go further now and point to the picture of being with Shooty Gadwa at like a fake convention, of course. But I would have loved that. The perfect meme pick. Yeah. I will say though, right? It feels a little weird for the God of Light to become some sort of omniscient, all-present entity. Because, like, that's just what he is, right?
Well, I mean, I thought it was...
That's just what he is.
I liked the doctor's explanation of we're made of water and we can still drown it. To me, that was like, okay, yeah, I can get behind that.
First off, my wife in the chat, when you get off work, just text this picture. Brilliant. But, okay. So gods aren't new to Doctor Who. You've met the Beast, of course. I know I just insinuate that Satan was a god on Easter. But we've had a lot of beings that could be gods. I think only one has been called a god, the gods of Ragnarok. But the explanation they are going with now is like a beyond the universe kind of thing. I quite like the explanation that they are the survivors of the previous universe. There are the Eternals, who are essentially gods, just in actuality. There's the Black and White Guardians, who are basically the god and the devil, like genuinely. I think they're literally the personification of good and evil. It was the 80s. Yes, it was. No, was it the 80s? Ooh, no, it was the 70s. Oh, well. But generally, the take on the gods that this seems to be consistent with, in most of the takes, is that they are, like, essentially omniscient. They've been around forever, probably longer. And it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe this is a different eternity. I do love this frame. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's Bach, the recent god. Thank you, Alex, for pointing out Bach, the living gargoyle, for the episode. Doctor Who Bach. We just watched this. Not box set, Bach. There we go. Shoutouts to Bach, everybody. Bach in the chat. Not actually a god, but from the hit show The Daemons. Shout out to Bach.
Shout out Bach.
Shout out to Bach. There you go. Good old Bach. You don't want to watch the third Doctor? He's brilliant. Shoutouts to Bach. And that one had Azazel. Shoutouts to my wife with all the in-jokes in the comment. Yeah. Otherwise, happy ending afterwards, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of generic. Nothing of note happened whatsoever. Actually, I've just realized how young this guy looks.
He's a little fella.
Sure, you could have like a 16-year-old in a diner, like whatever. It's the 50s. You could probably have like a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
In the diner. This guy's not 12. But yeah, anything about Miss Flood? I mean, I'm at the point where she's just gonna show up every episode, you know.
Yeah, I don't know anything as Flood. Just
Actually,
exists.
I have heard leaks of Miss Flood.
Ooh.
Because I forgot we were in the territory where major leaks had happened, and I was a little cavalier about my clicking of the spoilers on Reddit. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, there's spoilers I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope not. I'll say that. That all the details I know of the spoilers are not. I want to tell you about them because it's so meme. It's so meme.
Interesting.
Remember, no spoilers.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's an element of it that's like funny to think about. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop saying because I know I'm the kind of person who hates anything. She's that boy. Okay, I'll say it. She's that boy. She's that boy. Yes, it took that long to think of a single meme that was an individual. But is that boy? Anyone know? Is that me? That's a guy. That's an actual person, right? That was a meme. I used to be young.
A long time ago.
Thank you. 50 years ago, dat boy. Can you believe it? Yeah, no. She's just gonna show up in the finale and finally be something. That's
yeah.
I mean, we could talk about the leaks if you want, but first, oh god, wow, like that was a bit harsh, you know.
I can't. Are we on the rating? I can't see it anymore.
Yes. Oh, am I not actually sharing the right thing? Hang on. Let me share my. Oh, am I not? Have I stopped?
It just stopped a minute ago.
I think I did hit that button. There we go. No spoilers. Yeah, Alex is in the chat.
Here we are.
There we go. Lux. Caden. I can show you season 1 if you want to.
Yeah, I do want to see.
I can also show the chat the rankings, which is not looking good so far for our season. God, I'm all over the place. So I'm looking at it. So my top 3 are going to be what we just saw. Boom. I did like Church. I don't remember how much I liked Church in reality, though. Dot and Bubble is good. I don't know. Lux is up there, especially after talking about it. I'm almost hyping it up a lot. I can go. So for me, it's not a 10. There's a world in which a better episode exists, full stop.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if it's a 9. I feel a little cautious this early that there's only going to be one more point of better this whole season, you know? Why did IMDb rank Space Babies? Alex, my love, we've been over this. No one likes Space Babies. It's just us and Nerd Cubed. No one likes Space Babies. But us. Even then, this seems harsh. But Yeah, isn't Space... No, Devil's Court is worse because people hate musicals. In fact, I'm... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. I'm just going to preempt that one. No. Wow, spreadsheets. Yes, it's the... I don't know why we do it. The viewership always drop. We always complain. It's not 9. 8! 8 seems low for what we've been ranking 8s.
Yeah, I think I have my numbers.
So, but if you're intimidated by the spreadsheet, we're just ranking it. You love... Oh, that's Alex. I was like, someone loves... No, that's my wife. Thank you, Alex, for loving my spreadsheets. It's how we have money. I'm not going to show you my finance spreadsheet. The thought occurred to me, because I'm like, I should show him a complicated one. But not. I could show him... Yeah.
I've got mine.
Doctor Who.
I think.
What do
Roughly.
I call it? Okay, what are you thinking?
Well, so, looking at my season 1 spreadsheet... Oh, gosh.
Here's all the Doctor Who I own.
Absolute behemoth.
With the audio, where I am in all of the series. And I'm gonna make a Virgin New Adventure. Oh yeah, here were the DVDs for the classic Who at price, back before I was buying the Blu-rays, sorted by how many episodes they are, the value per episode, and the raw price. I like spreadsheets. Okay.
Man.
What were you doing?
Yeah, just going off of reaping what I sow with the rankings of the first season,
Yeah.
I think this episode was better than Rogue. Of the upper echelon of episodes. It was better than, for my rankings.
Yes.
For my rankings. It was better than Rogue. It wasn't as good as Boom. And the middle of those two puts it at a 9. Because I feel like something like an 8.8 or 8.9 is disgusting.
I'm kind of tempted for 9. And to just... Maybe we have an 11 one day. You know, maybe we have an 11 one day. Did we ever go above 10?
No, I don't think so.
We didn't. I mean, I put Boom as 4. Number 6 has the potential to be real good, but also real bad. And I know nothing. Well, other than, of course, what my informants have told me. Nothing about the rest of the episodes. It's even like 9.5. For me, Boom is a 10. It's the thing, memory for watching. Don't break my own scale. Look, there is a world where there's an 11. I'm just saying, right? Like, an 11 out of 10 does exist for Doctor Who. This was not an 11 out of 10 because, you know, we have some complaints. I actually think when Alex was talking, it made me think they don't like how short the animated bit was. I think... The the fan bit needed to be about as long as that. Because the animated one knew how long to do without overstaying its welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's far better to do just
so,
under enough than doing too much.
Yeah, Jack's Law, then call them out when they don't stick to their same answers. Spreadsheets are cheating. With reviews, you, the fans... get to go realize how much of like a massive hypocrite I am when I talk about how much I love like some episode, then we watch it and it sucks. When we write them down, we get to realize that with you. You know? And then you get the hypocrite. I've probably like gone back and forth on everything on this list except Rogue. That's low, but I remember really not liking Rogue. I don't want to go on too long. I might do a 9.
Yeah, it's flexible.
Wait on how high
lands
does
at
it have to go?
8.67.
Okay, that's too high. No, okay. I'm like, how high do I have to go to make it? Bam. Yeah. Okay, Doctor Who Lux IMDb. What did you think? Actually, this is going to be really interesting. I don't know. I haven't looked yet. What do you think the casual audience thought of this episode? The fans loved it. Okay, but like you didn't know Lux was in it, right? The Ring-a-Ding was in it. Yeah. Is it too weird for the casual? Is it too weird?
It depends on what level of casual. Brand spanking new is confusing. Casual, I think it's fun.
IMDb is not great historically. There's like 2 things above an 8.
Yeah.
Even Boom was 7.9. I think it's gonna be upper 6, low 7. I don't know if IMDb's gonna think it's good or not. Ranks at 7. No, I'm with my wife. I hope IMDb ranks at 7.0 like the fake fans. That's what it deserves. Come on.
Yeah.
IMDb, ooh, it's not 7.0.
I'm thinking somewhere in the 7s.
8.1. This, everyone loved it. I love the thumbnail, first off.
That is
10 out of
really
10.
good.
But this everyone loved it. The fans loved it. The casual fans, the dedicated fan, the general audience. This one stood out. They should have ranked those casual fans, those fake fans higher. But, you know, Blink's their favorite episode. It's such a weird thing to make fun of someone for. Oh, you like Blink? The highest rated episode of Doctor Who ever?
What a nerd.
That spawned the Weeping Angels? Probably SCP? Like all the Minecraft mods from my childhood? What an idiot. No. Yeah. I think, last time. Now, of course, my leaker, my informants from last time, if you're not aware, I've infiltrated the BBC, the British government at the highest levels. I've infiltrated Bad Wolf, which is the production studio behind this, if you didn't know. I forgot the BBC doesn't produce this anymore. And Disney, everyone. I'm in your living room right now.
In every room.
Right,
yeah.
Don't turn around. I'm indecent. But, no, I don't know. Sometimes you have to stop me, Caden. That's why you're here.
I'll try.
So, my informants, of course. As I said, there were some minor rewrites to Lux, but I think the details were there. Of course, it's always like this. Last minute changes, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Next episode, Nathan's Dragon Bun Studios confirms I am in their house. Send help. I'm sorry, I forgot to. Wow, I just revealed that. I'm sorry. The well. I almost saw the previously on. Now, I may have informants who tell me everything about the episodes, but I still don't want to spoil them. But you may have seen, it looked like a field with some soldiers in it. Actually, I probably should have put that behind real spoilers. But this one is actually, it has a few rewrites, right? So originally, it was like a meta thing. You know how sometimes the 4th Doctor and the 10th Doctor will go like, well, you know, they have that very...
Yeah,
15 doesn't do that, right? But in the next episode, he did. He's like, well, he's high. 15's a high voice, you know, don't worry about it. So, yeah, Jack's Law, I actually did learn of Weeping Angels from a Minecraft mod. When I watched Blink the first time and I saw an angel for the first time, I went, oh, I didn't know Weeping Angels were from Doctor Who. Oof. You watch our watch along for Blink because oof, or at least the preamble to that. Because yeah, I go over all that. Yeah, no, so Doctor, and it turns out this whole time there's been an entity living inside those wells, you know? And he's gained the power. That was the final one. It's the god of you know, and he attacked. That was the original plot, but they didn't like it. 2 gods in a row, you know, Mr. Ring-a-Ding was going to outshine him, you know. It just didn't work, right? So they pivoted to much less focus on the demon entity from Well. He's still kind of there. It's hard to miss. It is Bach, actually, Alex. Thank you. Alex, one of my leakers. Very good. But Bach living in wells. Alex, don't come up with better episodes than Russell. Actually, this one's not Russell. I don't know who wrote this. It's one of the guests. So no more Russell T Davies. Actually, wait. Didn't he co-wrote? Or who... I'm sorry, my leakers didn't write that one down.
It happens. We all,
list of Doctor Who episodes. He co-wrote it, I think, with the woman who wrote This Book is Gay. 50. the well. Oh, that's the director. He wrote it with Sharma Angel Walfall, who does not have a Wikipedia page. This one is actually the classic Little Timmy's fallen down the well, right? Which was never actually said in I Love Lucy, as I understand it. But Lucy, because it was never in I Love Lucy, it's public domain. So Lucy's finally, after all these years, found the doctor and is informing him that little Timmy's stuck in the well. And so this, quite naturally, is an operation that requires the full military might of the planet Earth. And is just extraordinarily units there. The governments of the United States, Russia, China, they're all there, side by side, arm in arm. And we gotta get Timmy out of this well. It's a good, 10 feet deep. It is 2 inches water, and he's gonna get his feet wet. And we gotta get him out of the well. Where, of course, Bach is. Bach is living in the wells, and he put him there. That's the episode.
Wow.
11 out of 10.
Let me say, that has to be one of the most impressive episode introductions that has ever been graced upon this stream. Not based upon its immaculate and undeniable quality, but the sheer amount of...
all the ideas. No focus.
Everything presented right there is very
It had
remarkable.
a lot of rewrites. It had 2 writers. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, I've been given a rough hand, Katie. It's real rough, man.
Man.
It's real rough.
That was something.
But looking forward, again, maybe some minor rewrites. It had a lot. My writers really did. My leakers, anonymous leakers,
of course,
did really have a hard time. Benjamin had to pull a few all-nighters, but Unit's gonna save little Timmy from the well. Well, there's a lot of forces. Unit might not do it. Who knows? This is actually how we achieve world peace. Is getting little Timmy out of the well. Because it's all about cooperation. Yeah, the Doctor's president of Earth.
All right.
He is. I don't know why you're laughing. That's true. If there's a major world crisis, the Doctor just becomes the president of Earth.
I believe that.
I play this game with my wife where they never know if I'm telling the truth or not. With Doctor Who.
Yes. Yeah.
I always am. Chat, please confirm that the Doctor is the president of Earth in time of crisis. Just naturally.
Wasn't that exactly what we saw in one of the episodes?
Did he become
where they had
president
a folder?
of Earth?
They had a folder for emergency circumstances, and it was just find the Doctor.
Oh yeah, but he wasn't the president. They're just finding him.
Close enough.
That was Unit. Unit doesn't have the authority to make him the president of the Earth. But yeah, that's it. That's the well. Wow,
well. I cannot wait to see that.
Yep. I don't think there's any dinosaurs. And it's honestly a bit weird going into an episode knowing absolutely nothing to expect. Nathan says everything's so deadpan, I can't tell what's real and what's a lie. It's all true. Well, except all those times I said the Master wasn't going to be in next episode of this season where he's in every episode. That one was actually an outright fabrication. Am I referencing Salamander right now? My God, I don't know. That's the Mexican dictator from Classic Who I think is named Salamander because the writers feel like salamanders should be in Mexico. And
Are they?
Yes, it turns out they were right.
That's nice, I guess.
Yeah, it still feels a little. Played by the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton, who puts on just about the worst accent in all of the show. It's a great episode. As long as you look past the racist accent. No. I don't know if you want to discuss any leaks still, anything. You said no last time, but this will be our line, I guess. But I think you're still no? Still no.
Untainted's been doing me well so far.
Man, I'm going to go over the roller coaster of meme-ness of some of the leaks. Wasn't Salamander the president of Earth? Oh, no, he was, basically, I think like Elon Musk. I guess he wasn't like actually anything, but he had a lot of power and was evil. Except the people of Earth loved him. That's the only difference. And Elon Musk isn't Mexican. He's South African, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yes. People who play games are just cooler when they get to the one they forgot about the real world. I'll be honest, I've been vaguely paying attention to the conversations in chat. So I guess that's it. Then next week, you'll be back in Florida with Mr. Ring-a-Ding and the nicest racists the world has ever known.
Yeah.
I'd like to apologize to anyone in Florida who's not a racist. And actually, I'd like to say any mean racist in Florida, I would like to take back my comment because you don't deserve to be called the nicest racist in the world.
That's true.
You actually live in actually I won't. You're a better part of Florida.
It's a very nice part of Florida. Yeah.
I'm
afraid of the rest of Florida.
I won't detail where you live, but you managed to find a nice pocket.
I'm afraid we're gonna get invaded by everyone else.
Right on like 4th, was it the blue one?
Right there.
Yeah, I've never been to your house. Anyway, I will say thank you all very much for watching. Caden, anything? You wanna... No.
Happy Easter.
Yes, happy Easter. I forgot. And I will see you next time.
Bye-bye.